You mean like right now?
Like right this second.
I was just about to take another bite though. You guys are catching me in the middle of my my post stream ritual because it's almost midnight and I have to have my cinnamon toast crunch before midnight. So I will be eating irregularly off of here. So if that triggers anybody, then that's too bad. I have to eat my cinnamon toast crunch. But welcome. Buckle up is all I can say. This is going to be either fun or excruciating. I'm not sure which. We always started out really good with these, and for some reason they devolve quickly. Maybe that won't happen this time. But Mr. ID, I sent you. People say my volume's low.
Yeah, let me adjust these volumes levels because that's the first thing I asked you to check.
People fix that.
So I can fix that. 1 second.
Mr. ID, the link to join is in your inbox. You said that you wanted to talk about a debate with Aaron Ra, and if you want to do that, then I need to talk to you. So come on in. And you got the link. So we just got finished with a. I know, guys. He's fixing it.
I'm working on it. Okay, that's what I wanted to check. Okay, so how about now? Try now to do some.
Now you should be able to hear me.
I adjusted a few things.
It's all Steve's fault.
I pumped up the volume and pumped up the jam.
Right. So we just got through with a debate between Mind of God and Fight the Flat Earth. Both of them. Was this both of your times? Your first time doing this?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Okay, cool. Yeah, love popping cherries on the Non Sequitur show. That's always great.
Hey.
But yeah, it was a really good, I think discussion. Steve was saying before we came on that. Well, how did you put it, Steve? That you think it was applied wrong, but he's not necessarily incorrect in the things he was saying.
Yeah, I think that he was just applying things that was out of scope. I'm getting a little echo though, but I'm going to try to alleviate that by muting me. So,
Okay.
1 second, and then we see that fixes it.
I'll go through and introduce who we have here, and then GE's going to kick us off with a question. We have Jared. Hey, Jared.
Evening, everyone.
Doing okay?
I kind of hopped up on cold medicine tonight, so figured why the fuck not join in on this shit show.
Good. Awesome. And beside him is Mind of God. Welcome back, sir.
Thank you.
And then we've got GE. Hello to your 82nd appearance.
It just keeps getting longer and longer, the list of shows I'm on, that is.
We're going to have to give you stock in the show, I think. Beside him is Fight the Flat Earth. Welcome back to you.
Hi.
Then we have everybody's hero, Rhetoric, an ugly motherfucker from Florida.
If I'm your hero, then you have incredibly low standards.
Almost none, by the way.
If I can say, Red, you are probably my major inspiration for starting my own channel. So kind of my hero.
Yeah, I would say we have almost no standards, but that's just.
It's interesting the dynamic that we have going on here tonight because Mind of God said the same thing about RussianVids, and then you have Fight the Flat Earth saying that about Red. So it's kind of like our two guys tonight's two champions are here as well. So
Let's see.
I get Reds and Russian. You better show up.
Yeah. To Fight the Flat Earth, I'm honored to hear that you as well have very, very low standards.
Yeah.
And RussianVids beside him. Welcome back. We have don't we have a history?
Oh yes, absolutely.
I told RussianVids that as much as we get into it, I do have to tip my hat to his creativity when he did that video of me wearing that V-neck with the eagles on it, and he found a Illuminati was a wizard. It looked like a wizard. Was it a wizard? RussianVids, is that the technical name for Illuminati leaders?
Yeah, a Grand Sovereign Commander. Yes.
Okay. So my eagles matched that, and then my clock was stopped at 5:33. So imagine that. Oddly enough, RussianVids, if you multiply everybody in this room, divide it by 60, and then add the square root of Steve's IQ, you get 33 as well.
33.
And if you times it by the square root of I for a flat earther, you almost actually get a real number. Only a mathematician is going to get that joke because it has to do with imaginary numbers. And I'll shut up now. But anyways, the audio is fixed. because they have an imaginary IQ. No, nobody got this joke. Come on, really, Reds?
Guys, question for you. You guys don't debate that Freemasonry is represented by 33, right? I know you guys are joking around, but you recognize that connection, right?
Yeah, my grandfather was actually a 30.
Okay. No, I was just
Mason,
wondering.
level Mason with the Shriners.
Okay.
We acknowledge that's
in my blood.
In Freemasonry, but not that the horrible things in
I get it.
you know what I'm saying, like
Well,
Russian vids.
Kyle, listen, Kyle. I said it before, real quick. When it comes to the record for the moon landing, like I said, it's 33 hours. You have 33 segments to the UN logo. So it's abundant. It's everywhere. It's like I said so many times. When you put a puzzle together, it's 10,000 pieces. If you only have 20 pieces put together, you're not going to see the whole picture. Once more information is implemented, people are going to see the whole picture, and you should know as being a Freemason yourself.
But yeah, this is true.
Yes,
but the thing is, RussianVids, you took it to the extreme, because there for a week, every 5 minutes, my inbox in Twitter was going off because you were literally running everything in life through that numerology calculator. You had Hanson, the people that sung Umbop, they equal 33. Literally everything that you could think of was hitting 33.
Well, they are definitely Illuminati. Come on, everybody knows that.
I mean, just look at your keyboard. The ASDFGHJKL, the spine chord or the home key, that is 33 in numerology. How does that happen? You look at the keyboard. When you first take typing class in middle school or high school, you look at all these letters, like, what's going on here? Well, there's a reason. Just like there's 33 vertebrae in your spine. It's a very special number.
That's the way it makes it easy to type.
Oh man.
Well,
I'm not ready, man. I'm not ready. Okay. Let's ease into it, okay? Let's ease into it.
Yeah, let's ease into the fact that the human mind can make patterns out of dog shit.
We can't start.
People in denial will say that, but once you put more pieces together, it's going to be apparent that it's by design, not by coincidence.
RussianVids. See, the difference is that unlike those who just say it, I actually did it on the Non Sequitur show to make it seem like you had a sexual relationship with O.J. Simpson. Don't give me that nonsense, dude. It's fucking easy.
What the heck are you talking about? Sexual relationship with O.J. Simpson?
Yeah, remember that's what you came on for. Remember, not the sexual relation with O.J. Simpson, but the debate where he was set up and.
No, he had that sexual relationship for fun. Don't let him fool you.
It's all
guys.
Jump in with your question, please, so that we can start off on some.
Yeah, let's get somewhere. Go.
Sturdy ground.
Okay, so for my question, during the debate tonight, Mind of God said that the reason why at night you don't see a blue sky behind the moon is because the sun has moved away and there's nothing illuminating that area. But my question is, one, does the moon give off its own light, or does it reflect the sun?
Yes.
And then
which
one?
Yeah, well, the bottom line is I have video footage on my channel on YouTube, showing, the dark of night, and there you see the moon, and it's illuminated with the clouds around it are completely illuminated. Where's this ray of light coming from the sun? We should see this. We don't. So the bottom line is I do agree the sun and the moon work together, more or less like electromagnetism on that level. But as far as a reflection, no. The sun and the moon, they're lights. Like I said, you don't get a sunburn from a flame. People get you get a sunburn from the sun. And it's basically like it's a light, like you go to a tanning salon, and you lie in a tanning bed, and you can get a tan. You can't get it from a flame. It's not something on that level. So what I'm getting at,
so you're saying that fire doesn't burn you?
It burns you, but it won't give you a tan. That's what I'm saying.
Well, it's because it doesn't have UV light.
Yeah, it's a different type of UV light.
Yeah, thermal energy is different than radiation.
Yeah, well, thermal energy is a type of radiation, but it's not UV radiation.
Okay. Well, here's the thing.
Let's go one step. Hold on. Let's go a step at a time. GE has a follow up for that. So let's tackle his question and then we'll move on.
For one thing, I didn't ask RussianVids what he thought about it. I was asking the Mind of God.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I would say that's kind of, I literally posted that video a couple of days ago when I was on the golf course trying to figure out why I can't see the edge of the moon. And I've obviously thought about it before that, but that sort of started this that piece of my understanding of like maybe the moon is acting independently, and this is like the first kind of observation that I've done myself and challenged it and all that. So I mean, I've seen all of RussianVids videos literally multiple times. So what he says, I might not remember it, but I would agree with that for sure. I mean, I do think it's acting independently, and from a religious perspective, I follow what
okay. Okay, that's fine. So my question then is that it does, like, your explanation as to why we don't see anything blue behind the moon then doesn't make sense, because if the moon is giving off its own light, then it should illuminate at least the area that is directly behind it and show some kind of blue material or surface or something like that, and you do not see that. So I'm kind of curious, how do you reconcile this light that you say is coming from the moon, which it's not, it's reflecting the sun's light? How do you reconcile that, like, with your whole explanation as to why you don't see the blue sky at night?
Honestly, that's a good point. I never thought about that. I guess it would have to be it's not close enough, I guess. But yeah, I mean, that's a good point.
Okay, RussianVids, what do you think about it?
Well, it's obvious that I said it many times. The so-called center of the Earth, the North Pole. Basically the center of the Earth works like it's magnetism. The sun and the moon revolve, just like a clock. That's the foundation of a wristwatch, and that's how it works. It's like a timepiece. And as they revolve above us, that's what's happening. And you're not gonna have
What's happening?
A blue sky behind the moon.
That does not answer my question. No, RussianVids. Why do you not see a blue backdrop behind the moon?
Yeah, you're not, because at nighttime the sun is on the other side of the flat Earth. Why do you expect?
Here's the issue. He's saying we're double dipping, which is actually kind of fair, because he's saying the sun's gone now. So now the question is, if the moon's acting independently, why doesn't it illuminate locally? Like we.
It's a very fair question.
It's a fair question. I mean, I don't have time, or else I'd go there tonight and kind of figure out. No, I'm just kidding. I don't know. That's a good point. It is. It would obviously, I guess the explanation would be it's not close enough or not intense enough to do what the sun is doing. Obviously.
Okay. I'm sorry. Let me get this straight. You expect there to be light from the moon that creates a blue sky? No, it's not. It's not. No. Okay, I get it now. I'm sorry. I wasn't understanding the question of. That's obvious. Yeah, the moonlight's not strong enough. It's a total different. It doesn't. It's not as powerful as the sun. It's the light.
It reflects 3% of the sun's rays.
I have a follow-up to that then. Why is it at night then, on a mostly clear sky, you still get illumination of the clouds if it's not strong enough?
No, it's strong enough. Yeah, because the sun is. I'm sorry.
So it is, but it isn't.
The moon is relatively close, so it's not 238,000 miles away. So relatively, it's close. You're gonna get that.
You know what? Let's go down that. But instead of directing this question initially to you, RussianVids, I'm gonna go put it to the other guy.
Go ahead.
Do you? Sorry, I am blanking on your name at the moment. Blame the NyQuil.
Mind of God.
Yeah, or sure.
Mind of God. Yeah. Do you accept direct measurements?
Yeah, sure.
You do? Okay. So do you understand how an EME bounce works?
No, but I hear this bounce stuff, which I find kind of funny, but keep going.
You're an electrical engineer who specialized in communications, and you don't understand how an EME bounce works.
Yeah, blame the University of Western Ontario and Rice University. I can give you their contact. So, but keep going. Just keep going.
The reason why I ask is because it deals with the propagation of radio waves.
Okay.
And you know what speed that they propagate at, correct?
Not off the top of my head, but tell me.
Well, really?
Steve, check your.
Yeah, I'm working on that. Real quick. I'm working on
around. Can I? It's around 300,000 kilometers per second.
Yeah.
Yeah, we call that C.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the speed of light. Something you should be
180,000 miles a
familiar with.
second.
Is it bad that I'm a plumber and I know this?
You're an ugly clear from Florida, and you know this. That's all that matters.
Okay, fair enough.
Now, the reason why this matters is because when you know the rate that something is traveling, you can then time it. Between time and rate, you can then calculate the distance.
Agreed. Yes. I agree.
So back to you, RussianVids. You still want to claim that the moon is closer than?
But wait. I don't think he said
miles.
Wait, just 1 second, just to clarify. I don't think he wasn't double dipping when he said the moon can locally illuminate the clouds. That part, do you have issues with that?
Listen, guys. Bottom line is this: during the daytime, you see the moon. You know, obviously in the sky. I've recorded the moon in the sky during the day, 11 a.m., noon, 1, 2, 3. So obviously, you know, it's what is the other side of the so-called ball Earth getting during these times as far as the sun and the moon? When both the sun and the moon are above the horizon, you can see them both.
No sun and
at
no
all times
moon.
of the day. At all times of the day, you can see them both.
How about no sun and no moon? How's
It'd
that?
just be a dark night with no moon on
I
the
see
other
this
side.
constantly. I see this happen constantly. So the other side of the so-called ball Earth is pretty dark. Then, obviously, you know. Bottom line is this, guys. I don't want to say this directly. You know, all this should be subjective and easily proven that we live in a globe. You know, these cartoons in space.
That's why it is.
It really is.
Hold on.
Right, RussianVids, can I ask you a question? Like, you're saying the moon is local and close, so you explain to me why the angular size doesn't change.
It does change. I've showed videos, time-lapse videos of the sun moving. And
and in those time-lapse videos, were you using a solar filter?
I want to point this out.
Answer the question. Were you using a solar filter?
For $84.
That's what I'm trying to get at. It's not my
Yes, it's a
video.
simple yes or no question. Were you using a solar filter?
I'm explaining to you simply. They're not my videos. It's a video.
Were you looking at a video that was using a solar filter?
Hang on. Everyone.
You just said it both ways, RussianVids. You said you did it. Now you're saying it was someone else's video?
You're not listening. I said I have a video. I never said it was my video. I said I have a video on my channel. I didn't say I recorded this. I said I have this video on my channel. It's a big difference.
That video, is it using a solar filter?
No, this is during the day. What do you mean solar filter? No, it's
look at the sun. You need to have a solar filter, otherwise you won't be able to tell what the angular size of it is because you just get a bunch of glare.
No,
the solar filter removes that glare and allows you to actually look at what the angular size of it is. Red will attest to this because he done a video on his channel with a solar filter, taking a photo of the sun every 30 minutes throughout the day, and lo and behold, the angular size didn't change.
Mm-hmm.
And if the sun was local and close, then it would change in a magnitude of 4 times if throughout the day, and that doesn't happen.
Well, let me explain this very simply. Okay, 1 or 2 during the day, you cannot look at the sun directly. Obviously, like Steve mentioned the other day, you'll go blind. But just so happens during so-called sunset, on many occasions, you can look directly with your naked eyes at the sun, and it doesn't burn your eyes.
That's not true.
Yeah, that's because when you're looking at the sunset, the sun is at an angle compared to you.
That's
so
still,
you're looking at a whole bunch more atmosphere.
That's still not a good idea because even if the sun has a small amount, even if you looked at the sun at 1% of its total brilliance, it's enough to blind you. So you don't want to look at any part of the sun at any time, even if there's a little bit going over the horizon. Now, granted, you look for a little while. You know, we all seen sunsets. So it's not going to be detrimental. But if you stare directly at that sunset and you let it burn your retina, you will get retina damage.
Let me in.
Or eye cancer too, because the amount of energy being deposited on your retina. You don't want to do that. It's bad.
All right. Mind of God, can I ask you a direct question?
Yes, sir.
Okay. If you're looking at an object that is emitting really, really, really bright light, think like HID bulbs. In order to see the actual size of the object that is emitting that much light, you would first need to cut down on the light that's hitting your eye or a camera sensor, and only in order to see the object itself that is producing it, correct? Lest there be glare?
Yeah, I have a question about the filter. Is that what you're getting at? I'll let you finish.
Yes. I'm getting it, but work with me on this on this thing. Okay,
yeah,
so
I think what you said is fine.
Okay, so if one were to make an observation of, like, oh, I don't know, the sun, and they were making this observation to measure the angular size of the sun, but they didn't have that filter in place, then that observation would not be an accurate representation of the actual size of the sun. Is that fair to say?
Well, one step before that, what is the filter doing? Is that filtering just the sun or other effects like in the atmosphere? Like
it's cutting out 99.5% the light that hits it.
Oh, so anything, just whatever is
whatever light, just
okay.
Yes. So take that filter just filters out light. So just using that and that alone, the same way that I did the light bulb example, if you want to see the actual size of the light bulb that is emitting that much light, you need to first cut down on the light so it doesn't blind you, so that there's no glare, correct?
Okay, and when you say angular size, how are you measuring that? Are you literally taking a picture and putting a ruler on the picture, or like how are you quantifying that? Just by looking at it?
Yes, I am just looking at it, and I can give you an example right here, right now.
No, I saw your videos with the. I mean, if you want to pull it up, you can. But...
No, then if you already saw it, then there's no point. But all I did was I took a picture of the sun with a solar filter, and I compared it to the next image that I took, and then the next image that I took, and then the next image that I took, and so on, from sunrise to sunset, and all the images show the sun being the same size in the frame, i.e. angular size did not change.
Can I answer this in a way you will not like?
Sure, but can you answer the first question that I gave you in a way that I may or may not like?
I don't think I can, because I'm going to have to deflect to this, but...
Okay, just to be clear,
I'm ducking
do you agree with me that in order for us to make an accurate observation of the size of an object that is emitting that much light, we first need to cut down on the light so it doesn't blind us or give us a bunch of glare?
But I think the next question would be, how do you know you're filtering enough? Like, how do you know that what you're seeing is consistent from observation to observation? Like, because
the very moment that you filter any more, the angular size does not change. Because that's exactly what I did when adjusting exposure. So the very moment that you're not seeing any change, yet you're having an exponential amount of filter, that's when you've hit your point where, okay, now what I'm seeing is actually the object itself.
Interesting.
Yeah, so would you agree that that methodology is correct, and doing anything beyond that is going to give you not accurate results?
What are we trying to do? What are you trying
measure to the angular size of the sun and not its glare?
But when you say measure, you just said visually. That's what I don't understand. Why are you saying measure when you're just saying you're trying to observe the size of the sun not changing? Not
correct.
Measuring. Okay.
Well, no. Measuring it does not mean having an actual value. You can measure something. No, you can measure something without assigning a value to its angular size. The way you measure it is by comparing it to the next set of observations, which is the next picture, the next picture, the next picture. So,
I got it.
So, doing my methodology, that is how one would actually find the size of the sun, and doing it in any other way would cause you to measure glare, correct? I've asked this like 10 times already.
Okay, you know what? I want to listen.
That seems reasonable.
Not going anywhere. I want to
hang on, RussianVids. Not done yet. Not done yet. So right now we just heard that is reasonable, which I thank you. I thank you for saying that that's reasonable.
But Red, just to clarify, in particular, that part where you said you increased the filter to where you got a fixed thing, that's the part that I think is reasonable. Just to clarify. But yeah, keep going.
Okay, so basically, if we know that that's what we need to do to find the actual angular size of the sun, and doing anything beyond that, you're just going to get a bunch of glare. Which methodology are you going to trust? Would you trust my methodology, or would you trust a unprotected camera sensor staring directly at this very bright light in the sky?
I would do this myself.
Yes, but with which methodology?
I'd have to think about it.
Why would that require much thought, to be honest with you?
Okay.
I don't see what there is to think about. I just don't.
I mean,
You
what
either
does it
want to do
matter,
it
really?
right or you don't.
Yeah,
I mean, I would need to figure out how I
basically.
can see the actual sun, whatever that is, its core element. Yeah, I would need to figure out how I can zero in on that, and not its.
Maybe you use what's called a glare filter. I'm guessing.
Yeah, that's just
Solar
stuff that I don't know of. But yeah, sure.
There's well, I'll help you out. There's one for $10 on Amazon.
I
Just
work
a
at
big
Amazon.
one.
I do not buy anything from there. I don't know.
Russian
I do not
Vids,
agree with their principle.
real quickly.
Amazon's amazing.
Speaking of
Yeah,
that, Russian Vids, something just happened that I don't know if you can maybe help me out with this, but I just went to check my email, and you're not going to believe this. Steve, would you put up that picture that I just sent you?
Yeah,
this is true.
I'm going to share
This is
it
true.
right now. 1 sec.
I literally just opened this up, Russian Vids. Now, what does this mean? Look how many emails are in my inbox.
Hang on, I've got to actually screen share this, so this might be
It's a
weird.
multiple-
Okay, there you go.
It's quite freaky.
All the love for Russian Vids. I can see it already.
What's the G in the Gmail?
The G's are 33. 1 through 26. 8 through Z is 1 through 26. You flip the alphabet over, you get to G again. It's 33.
RV,
Now, I will tell
I'll
you.
tee you up.
I will tell you. By the way, can you see this?
Oh,
666.
Okay, so I will tell you that during the stream, wait,
got
it gets
it.
better. During the stream, we actually hit 666 for quite some time, and as soon as I recognized, my head kind of hit me, and I went to go take a screenshot out of it. It went to 667 and never went back, and I said, "God damn Illuminati, you fucked me again."
But
They're
see,
back, though. Look, they're back.
They play with those numbers, man. We've done tests.
They messed with me because I was going to take a screenshot of that at 666, and as soon as I put my little screen thing over, it went to 667. I was like, "Damn."
Okay.
Oh, the screen. I'm
question.
sorry. The screen.
Go ahead.
You know what?
Go
The
ahead, Jeff.
outside can't see it. So let me. While you're talking, I'm gonna show it to the outside. So.
Okay.
But wait, Red,
So-
can I answer that with a way you won't like?
Sure. Well,
Here's
in all fairness, the way you've been answering hasn't been very likable, but go ahead.
No, that's fine. But from a spiritual perspective, which may not be appropriate on the original broadcast, from a person who understands or is kind of figuring or following along in this debate from the Bible, we have to believe that there is an architect to this whole deception. So he's not going to make it obvious. No, I'm not. I mean, I'm not here to prove it. I'm just telling you from my vantage
It
point.
kind of is why you're here, to be fair.
Hang on. I can
Well,
respond to this. Let him finish his thought. Let him finish his thought, and I'll respond. Go ahead.
Well, if the point that I was going to get to in the presentation, which I don't know if it was appropriate, but I was going to use the mark of the beast prophecy as a way to lean on the Bible as being true or not, or at least consider its truth. But that would be literally the only way. Not only I could prove it to you, but I'm trying to prove it to myself.
But I'll be honest with you, if the Bible literally said, by the way, somebody's getting some feedback, and I think it's Russian Vids. If the Bible actually said the Earth is flat, the Earth is not round, the Earth is flat, anybody in their right mind would still go, "That's wrong." It doesn't matter what the Bible says; it's fundamentally wrong on all aspects of reality. So why?
That's not true.
Well, it is true. It is very much true.
It is.
If the Bible says insects have four legs, okay, it's wrong. There's certain things in the Bible that they got wrong. They didn't know these things. They just didn't have an understanding.
Not only do they get things wrong, but the Bible constantly contradicts itself throughout all the stories. Most of the stories are just retelling of the same stories in different ways with contradictions.
Yeah.
And the fact that the Bible was written by over 40 people over 1,500 years.
I would say well over that.
Okay,
Let
listen.
Red's continue on his line of questioning.
Yeah, go ahead, guys. I want to mention
That's a non sequitur. A lot of textbooks are written by multiple people. That makes no sense.
It doesn't. Okay, here's the thing. You said from a spiritual standpoint, they're not going to make the deception obvious. Which, let's go ahead and hypothetically say that there is one.
Yes.
If you want to go ahead and say that, that's fine. But if you want me to believe it, that's a different story.
I agree.
So the thing that's going to make me believe it is not hearsay from the Bible. The thing that's going to make me believe it is demonstrable evidence that I can go to and verify, which is something that flat earthers told me to do. That's why I'm surrounded by Nikon P900s and 1000 solar filters, telescopes, and a one-way trip ticket to NASA. The reason why I've been doing this for so long is because I'm trying to actually make your case for you. But every time I go to find evidence of a flat earth, I come back with the same answer. It's round.
Red, let me ask you this real quick. You know that video you have of the transit, the supposed transit of ISS in front of the moon. How many other people have videos like that? You would think, History Channel, CNN, Fox News, all these science, big channels on YouTube and all these science outlets all over, the media, on mainstream media, they would have this as well. How many videos are there of the ISS transiting the moon?
I know
How
of
many?
15. I know of 15 on the top of my head.
Yeah,
I just think I've seen others too, but he has the most clearest of all.
Yeah, I have the clearest image of the ISS recorded with the flat earther camera of choice, the Nikon P900. But I also want to say that who the hell cares how many people have filmed it? The fact is that I filmed it. I showed you how you could film it. You can repeat the observation yourself.
Right.
Well, the thing is this.
3,
You would think these
4,
people...
5, 6, 7, 8. Oh, by the way, I just did a YouTube search for ISS lunar transit, and I'm counting the number of hits.
Yeah, I've seen quite a few.
Well, you have to remember there could be some repeats in there. You have to make sure they're different independent videos.
Why even do that? Why even count the repeats?
Go do it yourself.
RussianVids. If you have a capability of going online and arguing with me, then you have the capability of going to that video, going to the description, click the link that says ISS Transit Finder, and doing the observation yourself.
Yeah, Reds, let me ask a question, Reds. If he was to do that, right, and he would say, okay, according to these calculations from this model, which I think we all would agree that model is predicated on a round Earth, right?
It is.
Okay, so if he did this, and he said, okay, at this specific time, it says there should be a transit of the ISS across the face of the moon, and he gets out there, and he sets it all up, and he has a decent enough camera because it happens pretty quickly. I mean, no question, you had to slow down that video, did you not, in order to actually have resolution? Okay, so
a TIE fighter.
So how long does it actually take to do a transit? I mean, how many a split second? I can't even imagine. It's pretty quick, I'm sure, right?
Yes, it is quick. The ISS is traveling 4.7 miles per second.
Yeah, so it's nothing that you won't see it go very slowly. It just zips. But so if he did this, right, would at that point, RussianVids, would you have to say that the model works, regardless of whether you agree with it or not? The model made a correct prediction.
Well, I'll say this. Several people have recorded it. The bottom line is, it doesn't tell you the distance. It could be like, say a so-called satellite that's, you could
use the map to tell you the distance. You can use the map.
Thank you for bringing that back up, because here's the beautiful thing. What I brought up before about actively measuring the distance to the moon, you can take that measurement, then use the parallax from an ISS transit and get the actual size of the moon.
Exactly.
Hang on. And not only that, but I actually measured the altitude and the speed and the size of the ISS with my buddy Astronomy Live, because we were measuring parallax. From that observation, which is listed on my channel, because you're not the first one to say it was a balloon or a drone or a spy plane or some shit like that, I was able to demonstrate that that object, whatever it is actually in space and traveling at the speed that NASA, the Nameless Faceless They, says it is.
Reds, weren't you able to figure out the distance with like a percentage error or something?
I was, if I remember correctly, we were within 1.5%.
And that was just from you viewing it and doing the calculations using trigonometry.
That was from myself and Astronomy Live being 1.11 kilometers apart, him using his LX200 telescope, me using a Nikon P900, the flat earther camera of choice, to demonstrate that via parallax, you can actually figure out the altitude of the ISS. And guess what? That altitude is higher than any balloon, any plane, and traveling at a speed that if it were in the atmosphere, it would burn up.
Okay, what is the altitude of your typical so-called satellite in space?
Now, when you say typical, geostationary or low Earth orbit?
I don't care. Whatever you so-called have in space as far as satellites are concerned, why don't we
have satellites? We have satellites at many different altitudes. You have to be clear.
Yeah,
if you want to be let's just pick a good satellite like the Hubble Space Telescope. It's around 400 miles in altitude.
Yeah, just FYI, Russian is low. Hang on, Russian. Low. When you say low Earth orbit, that is a wide variety. That goes from 99 miles to 1,200 miles. I believe it is 99 to 1,200 miles. That's a huge range for low Earth orbit.
Steve, there should be some type of average, depth supposedly in space. These satellites are. I'm not,
yes,
obviously
and that's called geostationary, which is around 35,000 kilometers or 22,000 miles.
Okay, we don't see any of these obviously transit the moon. So
Actually, we do, because in that particular video where I actually captured the International Space Station, if you look really carefully, just before the ISS transited, I actually captured a satellite transiting the moon. Gee,
you're the first one in human history to do that. Then I guess.
No, I'm not the first one in human history. I'm the first one in human history to do it with a Nikon P900, the flat earther camera of choice.
But why does it matter if he's the first one in history to do it?
Yeah, that matters.
Well, it should be observable by many people. Many people have these cameras. Is he the only one that
then
has
go
this?
do it. Then go out and do it.
There is so many apps that Russian Vids. Shh, I'm talking. Russian Vids. You can get so many apps. I'm talking. The adults are talking here. Be quiet. You can get a whole bunch of apps to tell you exactly where
please.
All right, come on, control.
One at a time.
Okay, right. Kyle. Let's be respectful here. We can have a debate and be respectful, and we don't talk over each other. People hate when people are just talking over each other. It's freaking annoying. So if you ask me nicely, hold on, RussianVids, give me 1 minute. If you go, shh, that's not polite, man. Have some common courtesy.
I'm sorry. To be honest, it's just really hard to have any respect for flat earthers. I'm sorry.
No, I have no respect for you because you're disrespectful.
Well, see, the thing is, we can fix this. We can fix this, all right? Before we get too crazy. Here's how we fix this, okay? RussianVids subscribes to a lot of conspiracies. So just forget he's a flat earther and focus on the OJ setup conspiracy. That's what he is. So he's not a flat earther. He's an OJ. Yes, Reds.
I need to clarify one thing.
Yes.
For my video. Okay, sure. So to make sure that people understand this, I knew for a fact that one of the major complaints about my video was that my video is the best, or it's the first time anyone's ever do it, which is why it has 2.6 million views as we speak. Mm-hmm. But the thing is that even though, I am maybe one of the first to get such a clear image of it with a Nikon P900, I put in the description the link that I used to do it, the camera I used to do it. I told people the tripod I used to do it. I told people my location when I did it. And I gave them every parameter so that they could do it yourself. Yes, I may be the only one, but I don't want to be the only one. I want other people to do that. I want other people to double check my work and say, okay, if this is bullshit, I should be able to go into Red's description, click this link, and put it to the test and see absolutely nothing happen in front of the moon. But instead, what people decide to do is bitch, moan, and complain about that CNN isn't covering my nonsense.
Mm-hmm. Well, Reds, let me just say this, Reds. Bottom line is this. The more footage, we can see from different angles, and we can get, this could be objective truth instead of, hey, wait a second, why is there only one guy in Florida who's a plumber doing this, and your buddy Astronomy Live, he's the only one that had footage. Oh,
could it be though, RussianVids? Let me throw my hat in the ring here. Hilarious. Could it be just that it's so accepted that the International Space Station is up there zipping around that it's just it's a niche thing? You know what I mean? Like the people who want to get it on camera do, and those that don't, they're not questioning whether it's up there or not. Well, they know it's up there.
And even then, to directly address your question about why aren't these news outlets covering it whenever it happens, it just might be because they don't give a fuck about actual information, and they are about advertising and making money.
Yeah.
Well, no, there's plenty of so-called scientists out there that want to. This is, something amazing, like a so-called, a solar eclipse, for example. Something of this nature, everybody wants to see. They're interested. We're going to see a transit of the ISS in front of the moon. This is something of interest. There should be a lot of coverage for it. There's not.
Hey, RussianVids, I can tell by the sound of your voice that you're very interested. So my question is, why haven't you done it then?
I don't have a P900 camera. That's the honest answer. I don't have one.
You don't need a P900.
You don't need a P900. I had a P900 because I'm a idiot with my money, and flat earthers told me to get it, and I got it, and it ended up pissing them off. So I guess it paid for itself. But You can actually get a cheapo camera from Walmart at like 45 optical zoom, and you will still be able to see the ISS trains at the moon. Granted, not as clear as what I got, but you will still be able to see it, and it will be good enough to confirm that what I showed in my video is actually fact.
Well, the bottom line is this, guys. All these flat Earth versus globe debates, it'd be cut to the chase if, again, there's more objectable proof of this globe. For example, show me anybody on this panel that believes we live on this spinning ball traveling, 500,000 miles an hour with the sun, through space. Why isn't there a school textbook giving the curvature rate, of this so-called ball Earth that we live on? There's not one school textbook that gives this information. You could look up, your favorite NFL players, how many touchdowns he has thrown in a season, but you cannot go through any history or science book, and they cannot demonstrate or give you the equations for the ball Earth. Why
then
is
you're
that?
looking in the wrong place.
Yeah, they can.
You're saying that textbooks have player stats from the NFL?
I'm making an example. Do you understand? What I'm saying?
Yes, it's called a false equivocation, is what they're doing right
it should
now.
be like, this is the curve. For example, Steve, or anybody here, what is the curve of the Earth from New York to San Francisco? What is it? It should be. You should Google it. You should find it in a book.
Okay, you know what? I don't know the numbers, but I'll tell you how to do it. And then, Reds, you back me up if this is correct or not, because you do a lot more than I do. What I would do is I would find, because the Earth is round, I would take a chord from New York from LA, right? Because that's your point to point. That's 2 points on the circle, and then you could figure out from the distance the amount of curvature that's above that chord, right? And I don't know the math to do it. I mean, but you could figure that out because if you know from point to point and you know the distance directly, right, and you know the distance over the curve, I'm sure you could use some math to tell you how much curvature there actually is there.
Square root of r plus x to the second minus r to the second.
Yeah, I mean, I'm
bottom
sure.
Line is this: we should be able to Google it. We should Google it, miles, from San Francisco to New York, and it should be there. There's nothing out there.
I just explained to you how to do it. Reds gave you the formula, which he has memorized. He actually, I think, I'm not lying. I'm not lying.
Everyone stop.
Wait, Reds, do you or do you not? Do you have that formula tattooed on your ass? Because I really want to know.
Because I've heard you do. So alpha equals 2 times the arctan of G over 2r tattooed
it's
on my
his
other
left
cheek.
buttock.
But to answer RussianVids. But to answer RussianVid's question, it's 3.8,105,000. Hang on, 3.8 million, and it is in feet. So it's 3.8 million feet below the horizon if you're standing in California and looking at New York.
That's the curvature. And how did you obtain this information?
Math.
Square root of r plus x to the second minus r to the second. I literally said this shit like 45 seconds ago.
Listen, I understand you're throwing out numbers, but you have to give me a source of where you're getting this information from.
If you shut your
we all can look it up.
Reality.
I googled it and there is a site for it.
Geometry is where I'm getting this from,
I want a source of where you're obtaining this information. So
geometry.
It's home.
I use the calculator in Windows.
Listen, no.
Are you asking where we can get the information on how far it is from one place to another? Because that's called Google Maps.
Listen, Google Maps. Why does Google have a fleet of planes? That's all they use.
No, they don't. Oh, wait, stop. Everybody stop. This brings up a good point. I saw this today. They had the Flat Earth conference, right?
Yeah, that should show.
No, if you go to the webpage, it'll say where to find the conference. And they use Google Earth to take you where it's at. Only Flat Earth Conference website.
There's latitude and longitude.
Just look at it. That's what I'm saying.
And RussianVids, can I say something? You're arguing about Google Earth, yet it actually can get you where you're going. If you want to navigate somewhere, that's what you use.
And if I want to get lost, I'll use the Flat Earth map.
Hold on, let me explain it simply. When it comes to Google, they have a fleet of planes. All they're doing is flying these freaking planes like they're driving all these cars throughout these streets and mapping everything out. You can find someone's house. And bottom line is you can, from these Google Maps, you can pinpoint someone's backyard. You can count how many trees someone has. And you're telling me this is from a satellite? Listen,
good luck doing that with my house.
Yeah. Well, I actually communicated with the guy that worked for Rogers Telecommunications. And he told me, he goes, look, we own 4 sports franchises. and of course, these sports franchises are worth in excess of $100 million each. He goes, we do not have a single satellite in space. Because how do I know this? I laid fiber optic ocean cables for the internet.
Oh,
That's
Jesus
how it all works.
Dude,
GPS
are you I can't take you seriously, buddy.
Yes,
I just can't.
because. Oh, sorry, Steve.
No, I was just going to say that what he says is just there's fiber optic cables, but what do you think would have? How do you think you transmit the data on the downlink? There's an uplink to a satellite, then there's a downlink, and then you have communications via fiber optics that are transatlantic cables.
And we all know how stat phones. I have to plug it into a fiber optic cable to get that shit to work, right?
Rich, let me address Steve here. Steve, you can go right now to Vox Media. They have like a 4-minute video explaining how 99.9% of telecommunications work through these fiber optic underocean cables.
That's the backbone. Yes.
Yes. Would you like to know why?
Yes, that's the backbone.
Yeah. Would you like to know? Would you like to know why? There's two reasons. A physical backbone is more secure and also easier to tap into for monitoring.
And I would say it's a lot less expensive too. I mean, we only get so much bandwidth going up to satellites.
Backbone needs a rub.
Satellites.
Oh yeah, and also just to be clear, when we're using Google Maps and it's getting me where I need to go, my car isn't plugged into a fiber optic cable doing that. It's actually tapping into this thing called the Global Positioning System, otherwise known as GPS.
Reds, listen, fiber optic cables, and they have these ground towers, these high power ground towers that are all over these urban areas, suburbs, and this is how it works. Why do you need to fly planes? Facebook wants to fly planes over Africa to give them internet. What the hell's up with that?
Yeah, whereas Elon Musk just wants to use his SpaceX company to bring global internet using satellites. There's many different ways of achieving the same goal, dude. And also explain this to me. Why is it that when I'm traveling between Tampa and Sebring, Florida, that I can't get cell phone signal worth of shit and can't watch Pornhub whenever I want, but yet it's still telling me that I have 58 more miles to go on Highway 66?
Red, I'll send you some videos that will kind of supplement those times.
Yeah, so basically, in order for me to watch Pornhub in between those 2 points, I have to download it onto my phone, but yet you're telling me that cell phone towers are still connected to my phone in some way? That seems like a pretty shitty setup.
Well, that's something I have to take your word on. I don't know, and bottom line is this.
I don't know. That seems like the mating call of a flat earther.
Yeah, I mean, all you would have to do is
I
this.
have a question for you, RussianVids, concerning this whole GPS thing.
Yeah.
Well, I'm actually going to go, guys. Can I ask one question real quick, though?
Yes.
All right, go for it.
Okay, it's not all that important, but I really need to know what is the mark of the beast, because I'm planning my next tattoo, and I really want to be able to identify it.
Well, I'm pretty sure there's an Iron Maiden album called Mark of the Beast.
Damn right.
This is a prophecy that is provable. Everybody would need to experience it if it happens.
Provable.
And
it's provable.
It's very. No, I'm not done yet. It's every human will experience it if it actually comes true. It will not be subjective in any way. The Bible is very, very clear, and this is what I was saying. The flat Earth or the moon landing deception is foundational to that, because the entire world would be in coordination.
So what is the mark, though? John is asking what the mark is to get. Is there a physical mark? Is it a symbol, or is it something?
Because I'm also in need of a tattoo, and I'm thinking,
it's my teeth marks.
Hey guys, I want to mention this.
Wait, hang on. I want to hear the answer to this question. What is the symbol?
He needs to answer the question. Right. I need to know what I need to tattoo.
What is the symbol?
Come on, give me a break. Listen, guys, I want to ask a question.
No, RussianVids, I'm not joking here. I want to hear the answer to this question. Let him answer.
Okay.
Yeah, so in the Greek, it's the word mark is charagma, which could be interpreted as something actually physically inside your hand, or it could be like a tattoo or something etched onto.
I've got a lot of things inside my hand, but I wouldn't call that the mark of the beast.
If I just got the NASA logo tattooed, would that be good enough, or am I not pushing it?
Reds. Here's where it's very specific, and it kind of, in my opinion, the Bible can be very easily rejected if we don't see this in our lifetime.
Cool.
It has to be hand, forehead. It has to restrict you from commerce. It has to be everybody worldwide. It can't be just one jurisdiction. It can't be one city. It can't be one company. None of that. And not only that, let's just say you do take it. It has to have the consequences that are prophesied as well for the Bible to be true, which are you know, if you want to, I could tell you what it is. But
So
it's a very layered prophecy.
So basically, I need to get a tattoo that says "Make America Great Again."
No, it has to. Restrict you.
Yes.
No, it has to. It has to restrict you from
Space Force.
from commerce.
So so basically, I love Trump on your
get
hands.
kicked out for wearing MAGA hats, so
Yeah.
that's restricting them from commerce.
Yeah,
Very
I love
specific.
Trump will get you restricted from a level of places.
Okay, so it's not actually a mark or anything that you can even describe. It's
I
just
think it's,
this idea.
No, I think it's the RFID. It's the
Oh, the RFID. Okay.
How does RFID prevent us from buying shit?
It may not. We'll have to wait and see. That's what I was
they would
using.
eliminate the currency.
Yeah.
They would eliminate currency. You have to use it.
coming.
Obviously,
There's
a credit card type shit.
There's a company in America that's already voluntarily allowing their employees to do it.
So basically,
they're actually
Jesus is involved in Bitcoin.
I mean, no, what he's saying isn't too far. Right now, they are using RFIDs for payments of things of that nature. They're also using eyes. People that have gone in and they got like a retinal scan, and they actually use their eyes as payments.
That's different.
In certain
That's
things.
different. Yeah,
Okay.
that's different. The Bible is very specific.
Hey, by the way, for you, Mind of God, remember how it says that the moon is a light source in the Bible?
Yes.
So, in your opinion, the moon makes its own light, correct?
I'll answer that after you.
I mean, yeah, I just want to word it carefully, but yeah, it's an independent light source. Yes.
Okay, so it's not reflecting light; it's literally producing its own light.
Yeah,
correct?
made by our heavenly Father.
We can go to the moon, by the way.
Yeah. So
No,
question
we definitely
question on that front. So, I went ahead and took this image of the moon with the Nikon P1000, the flat earther camera of choice. And if you actually zoom in on this moon by a metric fuck ton, and it has to be a metric fuck ton because apparently imperial shit, you can actually see inside these craters shadows. Like, for example, here's the shadow of the rim of this crater, shadow of the rim of this crater, and it becomes even better with this particular crater right here. You can actually see some shadow and a bit of light bleed over here as it's going on top of this crater here. So if the moon is making its own light source, why aren't the centers of these craters like here, here, and here, which are on the light side, not illuminated?
I mean, that's a pretty specific question. I don't even see where you're seeing shadows. Like,
I see shadow. I saw shadows.
Shadows
like the
inside
big
the
dark
crater.
bits.
Well,
The dark
listen,
bits inside the
I can
crater.
answer that. I can answer that.
Oh, Joy, like I was asking you, but go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, one thing I want to mention when we look at this is going to be relevant. I'm going to just set the foundation.
It
When
probably
you
won't
look at
be.
the
Sure.
Probably won't be. I'm telling you right now.
when you look at the moon, say a full moon, the whole moon has the same amount of illumination when you look at it. But in this instance, you don't see it like it get darker while you go towards the so-called spherical sides or around it. It's just the same amount of light throughout. But the bottom line, as far as this is concerned, I believe there's more light on the left side, and it just
No, that makes
Is
absolutely no sense. But Reds, let me ask you. So if you
No,
look
it
at
does make
well,
sense.
it doesn't. Trust me. But if you have
Oh, because you keep getting darker
hang
when you
on,
get towards the next speed.
Russians, shh. Reds. If I'm looking at the crater, right, and I'm seeing a shadow on one of the edges, right, I'm seeing it on one of the ridges. Now that shadow will change from one time to another with respect to the sun being illuminating on it. So that shadow is not a fixed shadow. So if
Can use the vector
there was the case
field to
that
describe
the sun or the moon was producing its own light, that shadow should be the same
isn't alive or
at all
changing in
times,
any
right? It's just an
way. Can I
intensity
get into
difference
to
from when
explain?
it's a point where it's producing less light than some of the other places. But if the light's from an external source, that shadow will move, right?
Yes, and to demonstrate that, I went ahead and took this picture of the moon taken with the Nikon P1000, the flat earther camera of choice, and you can see that those exact same craters now all of a sudden have no shadow.
Amazing.
So there's no shadow, but yet you can see that these craters, which we did not see in the previous image, now they have shadows on the edge. And also at the very top of the moon. And for those of you who are wondering, yes, there's the craters, and there you can see the lip with the shadows on them. So that means that we have everything pointing to the moon actually being illuminated
Get
on, not the moon making its own
hashtag
illumination.
REKT.
Why don't we see
CGI.
light hitting from
CGI.
the sun?
CGI.
Why don't we see any sun rays from the sun hitting the moon in the night sky? We don't see
Because there's nothing to disperse that light. When you're in water and you see the rays of light coming down, or even if you're in the atmosphere when you see the rays of light coming down, that's because there's actually something there to scatter the light. You don't have anything to scatter the light in a vacuum.
Right. So light is parallel rays, Russian, and unless you have like dust or something that'll actually cause a scattering effect, then the photons are going parallel with each other, right? They're not going towards your eye. So you need something to come in, hit something, and then cause a photon to deflect, and that one photon will go on and strike your eye. If you don't have anything in between them, you're not going to see anything. It's going to be black.
Steve, let me ask you this then. Why during the day, when we look at the moon during the day, we get half moons, and you see the sun, of course, above the horizon at the same time as the moon? We see half moons. Sometimes they're full moons.
Because
during the day, sometimes they're half moons.
It's just geometry. I don't understand how you even answer these questions. It's so basic.
I covered that exact topic.
He drew a picture even. He literally drew a picture.
Look at the luminaries part of the moon. It doesn't match up. That's
yes,
what I'm getting
it does
at.
match up.
Actually,
Hi, Craig. Break out your crayons.
Your
again.
inability to visualize 3D space.
Wait, let's try with Reds. Reds, let me tell you that what we were discussing. Did you hear that with the half moon? Why are the edges not being illuminated?
Now, I'm going to actually ask you the same question that other people were asking. What do you mean by edges?
Like, why would the moon not be... Like, I'm seeing one, surface of the moon from my perspective. Like, the sun is on the right, moon is above me, to the left of the sun. Like, why that surface that I'm looking at, why is the edge at least not illuminated? Why are the rays not able to reach that, but it's able to reach all the body that's above it or behind it, however you describe it, the backdrop?
The way it works is that a single light source can only illuminate half the sphere at a time. So what you're seeing is that side of the sphere pointed towards the sun, and you're actually seeing the part that is not pointing towards the sun not illuminated because it's not getting directly hit with the light. Take a tennis ball, or any spherical object for that matter. Take a single light source, shine a light on it, notice that only half the sphere can be illuminated at a time, and depending on your position relative to that sphere, you will see more or less of the illuminated portion.
But is the moon then blocking the sun from getting to the what we would call the firmament or the blue stuff? Why is there not a gap in the light like you guys were saying with me and the moon?
Because there is no firmament.
Hang on.
Okay,
First,
that's a really bad answer.
No. Hang on. The question was asked to me. All right. First, there is no firmament. Secondly, there is. No.
Back there, that blue thing. That's
No. Actually, it isn't, and I'm about to demonstrate that with my secondary answer with evidence that other flat earthers were able to give me, because flat earthers were able to point out to this one rocket launch that was a sounding rocket that went above the Earth's atmosphere, and what you saw was this sounding rocket take off in the daytime, and then all the supposed blue of the sky ended up being below the rocket, and yet there's the moon in space surrounded by black in the daytime. That blue is not at the same altitude or level as the moon. That blue is in front of the moon, and the light from the moon is going through the atmosphere, through the blue light that has already scattered, not the other way around.
Whoa, wait, okay. Let me 1 second, time out. We have the moon, right? Just to go back to what I experienced. I'm looking at the moon, and do you agree that there's light in front of the face that I'm seeing? There's light because it's daylight, and there's light behind it.
It's sad that you have to explain.
Now, what do you mean light behind it?
I mean, wherever the moon is, whatever is above it or behind it or beyond it, there is light back there.
Light that is not being scattered in our direction? Yes.
So you guys think the blue sky is in front of the moon?
Yeah, no, I don't. No. Hang on. I don't think. No. I don't think the blue sky is in front of the moon. I know the blue sky is in front of the moon because evidence that other flat earthers have given me, and also evidence that you can verify for yourself, will confirm that.
Oh, no.
That's a whole nother.
Let me ask you.
If you want to go ahead and confirm this for yourself, get yourself a spot GPS tracker, get yourself a cheap camera and a weather balloon that you can get for $60 on weatherballoon.com. Launch a camera up around 20 kilometers and see for yourself. You will see that all the supposed blue in the sky will actually be below the camera once it hits TOTD.
The bottom line is, I want to mention this again. When you look at the sun and you see a full moon, the whole thing is illuminated, at the same rate from the edges towards the center. It should disperse as you go towards the edges. It doesn't. The moon's a mystery. The sun's a mystery. For example, I want to get back to the sun.
Not really a mystery.
To you, it may
be. I want to get
be.
back to the sun here real quick. The sun is supposedly hydrogen and helium. Okay. Well, you have a scientist at the University of Missouri who says no. It's assumed it's hydrogen and helium. In these claims, it's mostly made of iron.
Citation needed, please.
Okay.
Iron actually kills stars.
Yeah, wait. Hang on.
Hang on.
Hold on. I'm trying to answer the question.
I would like to point something out first. There are people in academia, who are wrong.
Yeah, and let Curtis explain this because he's a nuke too. So he'll explain this too because there is iron in the sun, but iron tends to kill stars because it's not fusionable. It's very bad for stars actually. It causes them to die. But Curtis, you want to expand upon that for him?
Great.
Wait, do we care about this?
Oh, that Curtis, Craig. I'm sorry, Craig.
Yeah, we do care.
Who cares?
We know that the sun is mostly hydrogen and helium because we can tell the remnants of the fusion that are coming off of it, the gamma rays, all the different things that are coming after the fusion has happened. We can measure the wavelengths of everything that's there, and it conforms to what we would expect from fusion, from turning hydrogen into helium. We can measure what happens after that, and from that figure out what the fusion was. So we do know it's not an assumption that it's hydrogen and helium. We do know.
Yeah, the RussianVids, the proton-proton cycle produces a very specific type of neutrinos. These neutrinos for the longest time weren't discovered. They couldn't figure out how to actually come up with a way to discover them because they don't really interact very much. But as of, I think it was a 2017 paper, they have actually discovered these neutrinos. They know that these neutrinos are the exact same energy levels, what we would expect from the predictive models from proton-proton reactions, which is converting hydrogen into helium. So this is an example of a model. They said, we know this has to be this way. What is it we're supposed to be looking for? Let's look for this. And guess what? Eventually, they found it. It took them a while, but they did find it. So what he's saying is exactly right. We're using evidence by which we've acquired based upon the model to have a confirmation of what it is. And we can also look at hydrogen and helium spectral lines. Anybody who knows anything about basic physics can understand spectrometry.
Thank you, Steve. Much more
yes. I want to mention this, Steve. You guys want a citation? It's, again, you could look it up. It's Science Daily, and this is from a scientist here at the University of Missouri. His name is Oliver Emanuel. And again, he says, it's assumed that the sun is hydrogen and helium. So everything you're saying...
It's not. We just showed you that it's not.
I understand that, but this is a scientist who's saying it from a...
Well, this is a scientist that you may misunderstand, or he needs to come on and explain it. I'm not arguing with him. I'm telling you, as a fact, I don't care if a scientist tells you that... That the Earth is flat. They're wrong.
Even scientists can't agree on this. It's
too
theoretical. It's supposedly 93 million miles away.
They do agree.
That's what I'm getting.
Yeah,
hang on, Steve.
Yeah.
Steve. And I actually went ahead and found the name of that scientist before, and what RussianVids is failing to point out in the link to his own article is that his assertion has not been accepted into the scientific literature, so therefore it is quackery until further notice. And guess what? Regardless what the sun is made of, that is a different question of how far away the sun is, which has been known since the time of Kepler.
Yeah, and I got scientists. I've listened to.
Let's let RussianVids respond to that. Go ahead, RussianVids.
Yeah, I want to mention this. I'm glad you were getting on. This is a good segue to what I want to mention. I live in the San Francisco area. Okay, it never snows. Hold on, it never snows where I'm located, but just a few hundred miles away, it pours snows. And so from a sun that's supposedly 93 million miles away, this minute difference in miles from where I live, where it never snows, to where it does snow, it's amazing. A sun 93 million miles away,
It's not 93 million miles away.
It's obviously not.
It actually is 93 million miles away, and that's demonstrable.
Why didn't the Masons just pick a more reasonable number, man? That is madness.
Because it had nothing.
Because it had to do with physics. You can't just change reality.
Because scientists know, dude, that if they just make shit up, that other people will call them out because it can be verified or disproven. And guess what? Whenever you actually go ahead and do this observation and do the measurements, you find out to be completely true that the value given by the nameless faceless they actually comports with reality. And if you want to see how you can demonstrate yourself, go to my video, Jeranism versus the Sun, or Jeranism and the size of the Sun, and look and follow the step-by-step process of how to measure the distance from Earth to the Sun. And then at that point, once you see that video, you, sir, can no longer claim ignorance. Otherwise, you will be breaking the ninth commandment.
And I want to point something out that you said earlier, the mind of God. You said something earlier, and this needs to be brought out. We're giving you scientific explanations that actually can be used. These are explanations that people used for hundreds of years, and they can be modeled. The difference is we come up with a scientific explanation that actually works. When we asked you for something like, okay, why is the moon self-illuminating? Your answer was, well, God sustains it. It's God's power. That's not science at that point. You do recognize that is not science, right? Because science has to hear. Let me finish. Science has to hear by methodological naturalism, right? So if you're saying that you're positing some kind of thing that requires God, you're no longer in science. You're done.
Research is not the flat earther strong suit. So I put the link of the video that I'm referring to in the live chat and also internally, so it can be easy to find.
Was this the scientist guy that he's referring to?
No. This is the methodology and a clear point demonstration on how one would measure the distance to the Sun,
gotcha,
as well as its size.
But Red's 93 million.
Yeah.
Yes, 93 million or 150 million kilometers.
By the way, we just sent a Parker probe there.
Not even on that.
Wait, let me finish. The Parker probe just reached the Sun not too long ago. The Parker probe.
Listen, guys, I want to mention this.
God damn it, RussianVids! If you interrupt me one more time,
not done yet.
I cannot talk loud, so I don't want to have to talk over you. So please do not interrupt me anymore. Okay, it's late. I cannot talk loud. So
you're breaking up, Steve. I'm sorry, you're breaking up a lot. You only hear you part of the time.
Well, everybody else seems to be hearing me fine.
Yeah, I hear him.
Ask them.
The Parker probe just reached the Sun as the closest man-made object ever to go to the Sun. It's, I think, about 20 to 30-something million miles away right now. And it's supposed to get much closer. It's going to be to the point where it's pretty much skimming the damn surface for all practical purposes, like 3 million miles away or some crap like that. In order to get it there, guess what? We had to know how far away the Sun was. So we have real world information that is being streamed to us in real time from an object that is damn near close to 70 million miles away from us that we've put there that is going towards the Sun. So yes, we have overwhelming confirmational evidence to the distance of the Sun. As Rose said, we can't make this shit up. Scientists don't make this up. We don't make up numbers to conform with reality. Reality tells us what the numbers should be.
Yeah, and also to confirm something to you. I would also like for you to see the video about the ISS transit. Now, Mind of God, remember how I told you how I was able to measure the altitude of the ISS using the parallax method?
Parallax. That's a new thing, but yeah, I'll look at that. But keep going. Yes.
Okay. Yes, that same methodology can be applied to objects going in front of the Sun. And guess what? We did that with Venus, and we've done that with Mercury. With Mercury going in front of the Sun, we were able to measure it to be about 48 million miles away. Now, if Mercury is in front of the Sun, and Mercury is confirmed to be 48 million miles away using, trigonometry, then that would mean that the notion that the Sun is millions and millions and millions of miles away is not absurd, but verified, correct?
But you guys, just from a model perspective, right? What a model does, it's essentially taking observations and doing some kind of like curve fitting, or you're putting something smooth through something finite, right? Do you agree with that?
No, not necessarily.
A model is something that we use to make predictions, and if those predictions turn out to actually happen in reality, then our model reflects reality. Right. That is the purpose of a model.
Right.
True. But your model is not discrete. You're able to then use it to predict in a continuous way, correct? Like
because of the accuracy.
We can use our model to predict objects in the future continuously because our model is just so good. Because as you said, it's not discrete; it's in your face.
But that's not what he. Okay, hang on. Time out. He's talking. You guys are. This is the equivocation problem. When he's talking about contiguous and discrete, he's talking about signal processing. He's talking about signal being a discrete signal or a contiguous signal.
No, we're good.
Because it's completely different from what you're using it for.
They got it. I just wanted to confirm that. My point about the model is uniqueness.
Hang on, Mind of God is talking. Then I want to reply.
Yeah, there's in math, you like the concept of a unique solution and all that. That's the part I think maybe Jaron was trying to express, and not to bring up the past, but in his debate, that's the part you guys have to be more sensitive to, especially to math people. Like we understand what you're saying in terms of observations being put into a model and then having predictive capabilities. We understand that. Now we're talking about uniqueness of that model, and are there other ones that would produce results that are also correct? That's the issue. Where is the non-uniqueness rigorously shown? That's my concern.
Here's my thing. When you're bringing up unique and predictive capabilities and stuff like that, you also brought up somewhere in the middle of that, we understand what you're talking about because we know math.
Yeah,
and I appreciate
a set of algebraic equations, right? Every new observation is kind of a new sort of constraint that you're adding, correct?
No. Listen. The thing is that you can make a really small model with cones to confirm that the equations that we give you will reflect reality. So, for example, if I make a triangle with cones at a random distance, I close my eyes and I put cones in a rough triangle and I try to use parallax, or the law of perspective, mind you, to try to figure out where the edge or the tip of that cone would be, and I measure it and it turns out to match my equations. That means that these equations with these inputs reflect reality. If I then use those same equations, which have already been confirmed to work using astronomical observations, like, for example, transits of Venus or Mercury, to see that they're millions and millions of miles away, how am I just making shit up, and how is this so hard to grasp? How is this so hard to accept?
I never went to that extreme that you're making stuff up. I was just saying, just maybe it's worth it to be sensitive to the fact that there are potentially multiple solutions to this model, which is kind of.
There aren't multiple solutions. If there was multiple solutions, then another one would be available, and it's not.
Okay. So Craig, you decided to say that statement. You show me the equations that you're using for this model, and show me that, because you decided to make
the equations statement. For what model? The actual model that
the model that we're here discussing.
I mean, I gave you 3 of them already. Do you want
he decided to speak up and make that statement, so I'm going to expect something from him.
Well, hang on. No, wait a minute here. With all due respect, we've all given formulas and we've all given explanations of models. I have yet, and everybody in here has yet to ever see a flat earther given with any model. Like any. Any.
That was my point.
It's coming. It's
I've heard that for how long?
Time out.
When did the time limit start, man? We've been brainwashed.
Time out. That is a bullshit argument.
Until you started thinking about flat Earth, that's when you started getting brainwashed.
We've literally been brainwashed our whole.
When the flat Earth, then you have been brainwashed.
Jared, go ahead. Jared.
When the flat earthers.
Jared, go for a second.
Okay.
Jared was trying to say something.
Sorry. That whole argument of, you guys have had this amount of time, we've only had these handful of years, is a bullshit argument in the first place. And please stop. Why
is that?
Why? Because going by the Bible, you've had the flat Earth explanation for all of eternity. So fucking stop it right now.
Hang on. Hang on. Mind of God. I have a solution. This is that a flat earther once said to me 3 years ago, "You are simply taking the globe for granted." And guess what? That was true. I did just assume that everything that school told me was truth. I did just assume that the Earth was a globe.
We all did.
And I did what you guys told me to do. I investigated it. And after all that, I keep coming back to the same answer. I'm a plumber from Florida, and I've been able to figure this out.
Dude, you're not actually a plumber.
So
Son of a plumber.
No. I'm the type of plumber that never actually fixes the sink. Yeah, all I do is sleep with your wife, but whatever. We have to make money somehow.
Wow.
So when it comes to
Oh, don't worry. He sleeps with my wife too, so it doesn't really matter.
But Red, still,
listen. I'll Russian Vids. If you really are interested, I'll send you a link on Pornhub. But anyway, so
yeah, thank you.
When it comes to these types of observations, I had just as much time as you did to figure this stuff out. I had the same amount of tools available to me as you did. I was able to research this for as long as you did. Why is it that when I investigate it, I come to one conclusion, but you're saying you need more time to even come to a solid stance?
Yeah, I just decided to approach it differently. I didn't get a good answer on my vectors and my oblate argument.
I don't think anybody understood your oblate argument, and I explained the vectors to you.
But we're talking.
I'm pretty sure you got.
I mean, we can get George.
Maybe
hang on.
Let me try Reds.
We can get George. We can get George Hinook in here.
How do you make of that?
Wait, George.
All right, hang on. How do I measure what?
So we have an oblate spheroid, right, according to ball Earth geometry, right? So first of all, is gravity acting perpendicular to the surface? Is that the rule? So
gravity acts at all points.
Wait, does anyone have an objection to that?
Yeah, because gravity acts at all points.
Yeah,
sure,
gravity acts on all points.
Let's deal with this on a two-dimensional thing for now. We have an oblate spheroid sitting in front of us, right?
Okay.
And every point along that on the outside of that oblate spheroid we can model a gravity vector perpendicular to it. Correct?
Sure, going down to the center. Sure. Okay.
And it's not. In this case, it's not pointing. It's not going. They're not going to go through the center of this.
Yes, it is.
Right? Why?
Because all points on the Earth, the force of down goes towards the center of the Earth.
The oblate spheroid. We're talking about a non-sphere.
Correct? Oh, okay. First of all, the oblateness is minimal. That's
fine.
It's very minimal.
That doesn't matter. That doesn't matter.
Yes, it does.
It actually really does matter.
Hang on.
No, there's going to be some vectors in a certain region.
You want to talk?
The center of gravity is the same for all points on any object. Here's where I got to ask you. You say you have a mechanical engineering degree or electrical engineering degree, and you don't understand something as simple as the center of gravity. Because the center of gravity, all vectors point to the center of gravity for any object, irregular or regular. Period.
But will it be perpendicular to the
He didn't even know the speed of light.
Yeah, that's another thing. How do you not know the speed of light? Like I got George telling me right now, he doesn't think that you. I mean, I'm not trying to sharpshoot. I'm really not. But this is too many coincidences of things that I don't think that even a person with a basic understanding should not know. And you have a master's degree, and I'm really kind of going, how is this possible?
Speed of light.
In all fairness, guys, he's not the only one here that's lying about his occupation.
Well, that's true. I mean, but you know, hang on. It's not quite. Reds is not quite lying. He does kind of be a plumber. When you see on Pornhub the plumber knock on the door, and says, "I'm here to fix the sink." As soon as he bends over to do that, and Bubba takes over, it's an occupation. I mean, he makes a living that way.
Steve, that was supposed to be our little secret, but okay.
Dude, what's the reason for changing the topic? I was talking about vectors perpendicular to each point on the
okay. I'm gonna play the best friend card. I'm gonna play the best friend card to all you peeps, bitches, and hoes that are my peeps, bitches, and hoes. Shut the fuck up and let me have a one-on-one with Mind of God. What point are you trying to make when it comes to vectors?
Can anyone here start from scratch and find distance to sun without accepting?
No, I don't have that image. But if Red has it.
Well, isn't that what we're standing on?
Did I not just play the best friend card, guys? God damn it, guys. Okay, so move on. Sorry for the interruption. Move on.
Okay, so are these vectors perpendicular to the surface, correct?
Sure.
Reds lays down the pipe.
Where are they going to they're not going to meet in the center, all of them.
Not exactly, but very minimal difference.
Hey guys, I want to jump in here.
No, you don't. No, you don't.
I'm speechless.
Okay.
Well, hang on. Maybe this will help bring it together for you, Mind of God. By percentage points, the oblateness of the Earth is 0.1647%.
Yeah.
So it's so small that those vectors would essentially act like a sphere, is what you're saying?
Yes.
Okay. That's fine. That's cool.
Okay. I'm glad we set that up. RussianVids, what say you?
Yeah, I want to just mention this. You know, I talked about it in the very first live stream I was on with you guys about the Chinese moon landing and all that, and how technology seems to be going backwards. Here is a prime example of that as well with Richard Branson's Virgin Galactic, which was founded in 2004. How many times since 2004 have Virgin Galactic been in space? 0. Now we look at NASA, which was formed in 1958. You know, in 12 years they're supposed to go to the moon. So what does this deal with backwards technology, where things just don't work as well as they did back in the 50s and 60s?
So, right. Can I answer that, RussianVids? Like, you're saying there's backwards technology, but back then we had really, really very basic rockets, and now we've got shit that can land backwards on a drone in the sea. I don't see how that's backwards technology.
Exactly.
We should use this this ancient technology to go back to the moon. That's
here's the problem. Well, and here's the problem. And I dealt with this directly in my time in the Navy, dealing with communications and navigation equipment then that dated back to the 50s and 60s. We have a different level of internal components that you have to deal with that are more sensitive to the radiation that is at higher altitudes. So yes, we have to worry about hardening the current electronics we have that would then control that craft to get it up there, that they did not have to worry about to the same extent back then.
And as a space fan, I have something to say about the Branson Virgin Galactic thing, and that is that the reason why Branson is having such an issue with that craft is because it's a shitty design. Keep in mind, we're talking about a space plane that re-enters the atmosphere with a feathering effect. I like how he conveniently forgot about the second private industry, Blue Origin, who has been to space multiple fucking times with a suborbital launch, a lot more successfully than Branson's, because they have a superior design. So if you want to look at one company that's not doing so well because they decide to embark on a shitty idea, then by all means, be my guest. I'll be there to agree with you. Branson should get his shit together. But when it comes to Bezos's idea, or Elon Musk's idea, or Sierra Nevada's idea, they're all in space right now as we speak. Look at Orbital ATK. They just now launched another Progress vehicle to the International Space Station. Where's this backwards BS that we're landing rockets backwards on drone ships, as Fight the Flat Earth just said. Yeah. Backwards,
it's just pretty impressive. Ass. That is pretty impressive. And I got to tell you, of all the conspiracy shit that I've ever seen, watching a Falcon 9 land backwards, I go, that's fucking bullshit. That's fucking bullshit. But then I go, you know what? This is brilliant.
Video of that.
By the way, let me clarify so RussianVids doesn't take out of context. It's not bullshit. Yeah. It's actually legit. But the first time you see it, the mind is in shock because it's so amazing that you just go, fuck, that's bullshit. But you realize it's not. It's what technology can do.
And here's the thing when it comes to the moon landings that a lot of flat earthers seem to have a problem with. Why aren't we going back? Why haven't we been back at the time? Well, one, there was a space race, and after NASA was dumped a metric fuck ton of money, that money started to whittle down until eventually there was not enough funding and also not enough drive to even go back to the moon anyway, because we've already been there multiple times.
Well, what's the point?
We've done what we set out to do. There was absolutely no reason to go to the moon besides, for example, maybe the planetary gateway, which was a flawed concept from the very beginning. So NASA not going back to the moon for 50 years when there was no reason to go back to the moon, it's not because NASA doesn't have the capability. It's because the NASA budget whiners, which some of them are flat earthers, mind you, were whining about the budget. So they got slashed and slashed and slashed and slashed again. To now, we're hitching a ride with the fucking Russians.
China's going to the moon, aren't they? Again, I mean, not again, but I mean they're having a planned mission. I know they're sending more probes up there. They have numerous probes up there, but they are sending a manned mission. I think in 2024. I think they had planned.
Yeah. So it's like, why can't we go back to the moon? We can. It's a matter of why should we? Because it's cool.
Yeah, and same box so many times.
Well, and speaking to the budgetary bit, there's also the political capital, the reason for doing it and investing in it that disappeared at the end of the Apollo program.
Guys, I dropped off for about 3-4 minutes. I'm sorry. Bottom line is this. You have a so-called scientist in Bill Nye who says we cannot leave Earth.
No,
he's an engineering scientist.
He is a mechanical engineer.
He doesn't even have a master's. Sorry, he doesn't even have a PhD. He's just got a master's degree.
But it's funny how he says that though. But the bottom line is this. Again, getting back to the. I'm sorry, guys. I missed what you guys said last 3-4 minutes. But the bottom line, it's funny how all these newer technologies aren't working. Except China. China went back to the moon in 2003. I'm sorry, 2013. I apologize. And no one else has. U.S. hasn't.
So
Russia hasn't.
Yeah, and we just explained.
Yeah, we
exactly
have.
why.
We have. And so you're just.
I apologize. I hear what you guys said.
Real quick overview. One, he did lie because LRO is a thing. The Lunar Reconnaissance Orbiter. Yeah, that's us going back to the moon. Two, there's a technology issue here that we have to contend with now that they did not have to contend with in the 60s and 70s, and that is the amount of digital circuitry that is controlling all the craft that we use.
Correct. Back in the day, what we had was analog, and we actually had a computer on board that was that had its programming stitched together. Yes, stitched, as in like thread and needle type of stitched. But now with technology that we have today, that technology that we have today has not been certified for that type of environment, which is what EFT-1 was all about with the launch of the Orion spacecraft on top of the Delta IV Heavy. And we were doing that to test and harden the technology and learn lessons from that launch so that we can recoup the capability. Because believe it or not, analog technology kind of fucking sucks, and we like to move forward from that.
Yeah, and also the fact that, as you pointed out, we're dealing with technology that is very susceptible to things like electromagnetic radiation, ionizing radiation, and things of that nature, because you're changing states, like a transistor state. So when you're having solid state on a very small nano scale, things like quantum tunneling come into effect. Things that affect the physics of the circuitry is huge, and it has to be well shielded. They didn't have a lot of that problem back then. But I do have a question from George Nuchuk. He wants Nachuk. He wants to know if you can explain Nyquist's criteria as applies to communication. Do you know who that is? Nyquist's criteria?
Yeah, I just typed that in the thing. It's just you have to sample at twice the max frequency to prevent aliasing.
So you just
all right. So
why is George not on here, dude? Bring this guy on.
No, he wants to talk to you.
We'll rumble.
No, he wants to.
So and also what Jared said previously was actually correct. While yes, the Chinese have landed on the moon, we did that, back in the 60s, so not much there. But the LRO was us going back to the moon. For those of you who don't know, it stands for the Lunar Reconnaissance Orbiter. It became active, it became a thing in 2009. So where's this gap that you're talking about?
Like I said, the so-called astronaut pettit, which we talked about last time, Steve, and I want to go into this a little bit more with you, Steve.
Why can you never answer a direct question?
I know. That's a flatter for Steve,
go figure.
I think.
Yeah, answer.
Just hear me out.
No, I don't want to.
Steve,
no, I don't want to. It's getting
very
late.
hard to hear you out because you can't
I'm just going to say, Steve, the bottom
said there was a gap in technology between such time and such time. Okay, hang on. You said there was a gap in us going to the moon between such time and such time, and then you bring up someone irrelevant like Pettit. While I agree he's an amazing individual and has accomplished way more than any of us will ever in our entire fucking lives, he is irrelevant to the conversation about technology and orbital capability when it comes to getting to the lunar surface or orbit.
You're saying destroying that technology, but what I'm getting at, Steve gave an answer that wasn't from Don Pettit. It was his own contrived answer. It wasn't nothing that.
What the fuck does that matter to Tom Pettit? I don't give a shit about Tom Pettit.
Reds, you got to.
I've explained to you Tom Pettit's quote numerous times. So has everybody else. Big deal.
Wait a minute. I have to admit what?
Those NASA press conferences sound utterly ridiculous.
Well, that's actually they sound enlightening, and I would recommend, sir, that you humble yourself.
I'm like, how do I humble myself? I'm making an observation.
You can make an observation.
That's an observation.
Yeah, you're giving an opinion, not an observation.
Yeah.
You say, oh, you have to admit, it sounds like this. Go, no, actually, it's actually very interesting when I can look at the press conference and says, this is what we're discovering with the Juno spacecraft. This is what we're discovering with the New Horizons spacecraft. When they sent back that picture of Pluto, I about creamed my pants. So no.
I'm not debating your enthusiasm.
Over a cartoon, over CGI, you cream your panties? Give me a break.
It's an actual picture. It's an actual. Hang on. It's an actual picture. In RussianVids, the very moment you can discern actual CGI from reality, I'll actually give a shit about what your opinion is.
Yeah, right. Just like everything that they give us from space, so-called outer space. Yeah. It's basically a rocket going in the sky and you only get a CGI out.
Dude, I could blast NASA hire.
I could blast your sorry ass to geostationary orbit, and you would say that your eyes are producing CGI. Get the fuck over yourself.
All you need to do is this. It's this simple. You get a bunch of globers. You get a bunch of flat earthers in a plane. You get a plane. You go over, say for example, South Africa or fly over Antarctica. And go around the so-called ball of the earth now.
RussianVids, can I tell you something?
Story. And it'll be a ball earther. They do this, but they'll never do it.
Can I tell you something? Here's the thing you don't get. None of us give a fuck to do any of this because we already know the Earth's shape. You need to go. Let me finish. You and other flat earthers need to go learn this shit for themselves. The rest of us in the 21st century already understand this and have a much deeper understanding than it sounds like from any flat earther that I've ever had a conversation with. I have not met a flat earther yet. Let me finish. I have not met a flat earther yet, not one, that has a deep understanding of physics at any level whatsoever. I would even say a cursory. Now, I would say the mind of God has been the closest. Some of the things he talks about is legit. He obviously has read something. I don't know if he has.
I know how to read. Yes.
Yeah, I don't know if he has the credentials. He says he has, but he has read, and he at least understands slightly more about it than most other flat earthers. I'll give him that. But I've never met one that really has any deep, profound understanding of any of these topics. Why is that?
Absolutely not.
It's this though. It's this. When you bring up all of these points, RussianVids, I have heard it all before.
He dropped out. So.
I know, but I know this is going to be a thing later on. Because what RussianVids likes to do is take these videos after the fact, after he gets his ass handed to him, and do voiceovers. Mm-hmm. So, and then I come back with an 8-minute video completely demolishing everything he just said. But that will be a story for another time.
I can't wait.
Exactly. Anyway, so when RussianVids is bringing up all these things, notice what he does. I ask him, okay, you made an assertion that there was a gap in orbital capability when it comes to the lunar surface. We present evidence of the exact opposite of that being true. Starts talking about Pettit. Completely irrelevant to what we previously were talked about. We bring up the LRO. We bring up the fact that the technology that we have now is a lot more sensitive than the analog technology we have then. Talks about Pettit. RussianVids can't keep his fucking mind on one track, and that's why he never gets to a conclusion, because his train of thought derails itself halfway to reaching the fucking finish line. That's the reason why he's a flat earther. It's not because he's actually getting to the conclusion. It might be because he has an incapability of coming to a conclusion in the first place, which is why there isn't a conspiracy theory alive today that RussianVids doesn't like.
Do you think if we gave all the flat earthers ADHD medication, they might actually get a coherent thought out and figure it out for themselves?
I mean, it's worth a try, but that might be a waste of good ADHD medication.
Yeah, they would have really clean rooms.
Well, so Red, give me one last chance with these vectors with you. Like,
oh my God, you and your vectors.
So we have these vectors perpendicular, right? Do you understand what I was talking about with the orthogonality? How are they not interfering with one another?
I want to ask you, before Red answers, let me ask him one quick question, because if he doesn't know this answer, then I want to talk about vectors, because I remember very little from vector analysis.
Card was played though, Steve.
Yeah, you know what? I'm overriding because
you can still go Reds after Steve gets done.
Okay.
Mind of God, what is the dot product of two orthogonal vectors?
0.
Okay, so he has had vector analysis before, because anybody who's had vector analysis knows this. So so I just wanted I don't like sharpshooting, but that's just like basic vector stuff. So okay,
I have no problem with that.
Okay.
All right. In your vector analysis, whatever thing that you just said, does it disagree with the following? F equals big G M1 M2 over R to the second.
Does not disagree. I'm using that to create their amplitude, their magnitude.
Okay, then why talk about something that we agree on?
Yeah,
no, I'm worried about the relationship. How does this gravity, this field, which I feel is obviously fictitious, how does it understand to interact with one body of water that's massive or some heavy thing and not disrupt something next to it that's not? Like, how does it discriminate between these two things? Because I understand the mass. It creates the force, creates the vector. We both agree with that. We're good.
There is a relationship.
How are they orthogonal?
there is a relationship between being in a gravitationally acceleration field. So if I have an object that's in a gravity field, and that gravity field is 9.8 meters per second squared, and I have an object right next to it that's in the same gravity field, they're going to fall at the same rate.
Let me give.
Sorry, are we still talking about F equals DM1 and 2?
Moon first,
correct.
Quarter moon face landing
correct. Now
rocket.
let me give you a thought experiment.
No, human has been
let's
on
just
it
imagine, just for the sake of argument, that space is a thing.
Go Rams,
okay,
Ram
let's just imagine that we're in empty
Mars.
space.
Hashtag
no
vectors.
reference whatsoever. There's no up, down, whatever. We're just floating in space. Okay.
Yep.
Now let's imagine we have two objects of different mass. Let's have a big cannonball and a feather. Okay.
Okay.
All right, and we just let them go right next. We're not putting any speed on it. They're going to float right next to you constantly because we didn't put any force on them to give them any directional influence, right?
Yep.
All right, good. Now I'm going to encase you in a box, okay? Mm-hmm. Your feet are on the floor, but the feather and the bowling ball are still floating right next to you, right?
Yeah, okay.
If I pull on that box to lift you up relative to your feet, the bowling ball and the feather will make their way to the floor at the same speed, right?
I saw that video.
Sure, but what would we...
The question is not to you, RussianVids.
I know, but I'm just telling you, I saw that it was a freaking...
for fuck's sake. Can someone mute this guy? I'm trying to have a conversation with this.
Listen, they freaking...
When'd you come back?
I don't see how that is relevant to what I was talking about. But if you need to say that to make your point, you can keep going. That's fine.
Well, I'm trying to make my point. Hopefully, RussianVids won't interrupt
me.
Show
the video. Just show the video.
No, RV, I got this. This is more.
Okay.
I understand. I'm just trying to sort of, honestly, wrap my head around these things. But I do think this is an issue because you're not answering. Maybe you are, but I'm not interpreting it. Like how?
Well, I'm trying. I just keep getting interrupted.
Let's just say we both agree that there is this field, whether you want to call it a vector field or whatever, but gravity can be represented by vectors with certain magnitude acting on various bodies on the Earth's surface, right?
Okay, so the way you understand it, what should we expect to see when it comes to water and other objects? Let me ask that.
Well, my only thing is how is it possible that gravity can distinguish that it can apply force to keep certain things to the Earth, but no to leave other things alone, which the way I interpret that mathematically is they have to be orthogonal in some way.
Gravity doesn't leave anything alone. Anything that's within its field is subject to its influence.
Okay, that's true. But let's say you put something on top of the water, like something that's delicate. It's not going to get crushed by this force that is obviously incredibly strong to hold a large body of water. How is it able to distinguish and discriminate basically between those two things? That's my question.
And that's what I was getting with the elevator example. So, but we agree so far that they will be making their way towards the bottom of that elevator at the same speed, right?
No, but you were in a vacuum. Why did you say you were in a vacuum?
I know I was in a vacuum. Just work with me here. I'm getting there step by step, okay?
Yeah. Okay, yep.
Now let's imagine I put the feather over the bowling ball relative to your feet. Mm-hmm. And they're floating right there, right next to you. And I start pulling that elevator, pulling that box that you're encased in. They're going to start heading towards the floor at the same rate again. It doesn't matter if it was on top or on the bottom of the feather or the bowling ball or vice versa. They would both be heading towards the floor at the same rate, correct?
Okay, bring me to yeah, sure, I'll go with that. Bring me to
all right, good.
How does
good.
that?
Now, the reason why there's more force on the bowling ball than there is on the feather is because force equals mass times acceleration. So even though they have the same exact acceleration, they have different masses. So when the bowling ball hits the bottom of the elevator, it's going to apply more force than the feather is going to apply.
Yeah,
so
we established that. The F equals
good. Then that means that's how it can differentiate its the water from feather to a fly to whatever, regardless if it's on top of it, on the side of it, underneath it, left, right, bottom, center.
But then, Reds, that's the issue that you're getting at that we don't like, man. How how does it not interfere? It must literally be magic. It knows to only apply that formula to that one object and not interfere with another object who's getting its own calculation and its own vector. How is that possible? That's literally impossible.
Can I take
it's impossible.
The same exact way it didn't interfere in the box example that I gave you, because gravitational acceleration doesn't give a damn about your orientation or where you are relative to anything else. The same exact way it worked in that elevator, that is literally the same exact way it works on Earth. And you found no contradiction with anything that I said previously when referring to the elevator example. So why is there a contradiction when it comes to the planet itself?
Well, the elevator, was that the vacuum? What?
The elevator was to demonstrate gravitational acceleration and how you can have different forces depending on its mass, but still have the same gravitational acceleration regardless where it is relative to anything else. So you said that there was no contradiction, because I asked you this. Was there any contradiction to that example on its own? You said there was not.
I honestly need to think. I honestly don't know what that has to do with this, but I need to kind of understand.
Yeah, Reds, can I add something to this?
Sure.
Mind of God, all material objects are made up of atoms. You agree with that?
Who is this?
George.
This is George. I'm the guy with the dog. Con is speaking at you there.
Yeah, just make your point. That's fine. I'm not going to talk.
Okay. The point is all material objects are made up of atoms. Atoms have mass. Every atom of a certain type has the same identical mass. For example, a carbon atom, whether it's in you, a bowling ball, or a tree, has the same mass. Now, what differentiates various objects is how many atoms are in a particular object. Now, if you look at the gravitational force law, the force is directly proportional to the gravitational constant times the product of the masses divided by the distance between their center of masses squared.
Yeah,
okay?
The only thing that's changing is m, right? That's what you're getting at? I agree with that.
The mass of the Earth is constant, g is constant, radius is constant. So,
exactly right.
All right. Each atom is going to have the same amount of force on it of any given type. So the amount of force that is going to be exerted on any particular body depends upon how many atoms comprise and make up that body. A bowling ball has less atoms in it than you do. You're going to have more force, gravitational force on your body, which is exhibited, or what we call weight, than a bowling ball does, because your body has more atoms. The collection of atoms, each atom has the same amount of force, gravitational.
I don't think we're debating that. I get that. My question is
asking,
now.
But no, you asked, how does gravity differentiate? It doesn't differentiate. It applies the same force to all atoms of the same type. It doesn't discriminate or differentiate between different objects.
Mazel tov.
It has to.
It's exactly the point that I've been making.
That's about as simple as it gets.
So
I don't know how else you could.
George, here's my point. Like, do you understand, like, if we were to look at, like, the ball Earth with a lot of water, that there would be a mathematical representation of vectors holding, you say at the atomic level, however you say it, there would be a lot of them pushing against the water, correct? To hold it there?
Pulling.
Pulling, sure, whatever.
Every atom is being pulled towards the Earth.
Yeah.
And you have a massive number of atoms in a large body of water like the ocean. So hence, as a collective, as the ocean as a whole collective, there's a lot of force on that ocean. Whereas a bumblebee, a butterfly, has very few atoms as opposed to the ocean, so it doesn't have as much force applied to it.
So and it's a pulling from the inside. Right? It would have to be, right? It's a pulling from inside of the Earth, correct?
Yeah. Well, hang on. No, let me clarify this. The force is ubiquitous. The force comes from all other atoms. All the other atoms in the ocean are exerting a force with each other. Anything that has mass exerts a gravitational force on anything in the universe. Gravity is an infinite distance. It's going to be negligible, right? But gravity is everywhere. So the net force, the net vector, when you're talking about vectors, the net vector for the center of gravity is where something's going to be moving towards in free fall condition, right? If no other forces are on it and you just let something go, it's going to fall towards the center of the Earth. Okay.
It's like this. It's like this. So you asked, how does it differentiate? That was our whole point. It doesn't. That premise is false, and we can demonstrate this with many different experiments that have been done in vacuums.
Yeah, there's no differentiation. Every atom has the same gravitational force. Every atom of the same type, every element of the same type has the same gravitational force applied to it.
But is it being applied from the top or being pulled from the outside? George, like this should be.
Hey guys,
it's mutual.
Is it?
I want to make you real quick.
Okay.
Red,
please
let him finish. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
My question was: is it being? How do I represent this mathematically? Because you guys are big on the math and the
F equals big G and 1 M2 over
No,
R to the
but
second.
okay. So yeah, Red, you said that. No, you said that. Now, where do I place the vector? Is it on top of the object or pulling inside?
Oh, I know what he's asking.
Every object, every atom, you can collectively use superposition. You understand the superposition?
Yeah. So it is linear then.
Of course, it's linear. Space is linear.
I'm asking, dude. I'm asking. Why would it be? Of course.
Space is linear. Gravity works in space, so it's a linear superposition of vectors of each individual atom being pulled towards the center of gravity of the Earth. So you sum up all the vectors collectively, if you wanted to, all the billions upon billions of force vectors of each individual atom directed towards the center of mass of the Earth. If you added all those up, if you did that integration, you will find that they all sum to one net vector that is directed from the center of mass of that object to the center of mass of the Earth.
Yeah.
So it's pulling it from.
And by the way,
we're winding down in a second, guys, just to give you a heads up.
Okay, all right, Russian, go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to say, I got disconnected. I've been disconnected a few times.
We see that.
Talking about this, the feather and the bowling ball experiment. This is the foundation of what we're talking about here. First off, they already slowed down that experiment, and the feather was dropped first. And if you slow down and look at the footage, it's already been debunked as a bogus
bullshit
experiment.
Yeah,
take a look.
You're just wrong.
Yeah, you're just wrong. You're not even.
Let him guys. Let him at least get it out. Let him get it out. What he has to say, and then.
He was wrong after he said it was
at least let him get it out. At least let him
thanks,
get it out.
Kyle. I appreciate that, Kyle. Being fair, I appreciate it. Guys,
Sure.
it's only it's like a 10-second video, less than 10 seconds. How about just YouTube it? Go on YouTube. You can pull up the video and you can look at it slow motion. You can clearly see the feather being released first. This is the foundation of a lot of lies out there, based on false experiments that are bogus.
First of all, you do realize that the feather and the bowling ball are different sizes, right?
All right. Let's say, for sake of argument, you're right on that. How much sooner than the bowling ball or the ball or mass or hammer is the feather released than the other one? Probably less than a second.
Listen, you should take my word for it. Let's look at the video. Don't take my word for it. Look at the video. Pull the video up.
Here's the thing. I have looked at the video, and the actual release mechanism does happen simultaneously. What you are seeing is the inertia from the acceleration due to gravity affecting the feather fractions of a second before the bowling ball, because mass is a thing, and it takes more to move a higher mass.
There's a question from the live chat, and then I'm gonna let you guys each kind of say your last parting words. But I want to make sure I got this in. I think this was to Mind of God, if I remember correctly. Why can't people in far north or south latitudes see each other?
What? Who's asking that? That's a ridiculous question.
Copernicus theory, I think, was his name.
Copernicus thinker.
This is someone who thinks that our eyes are able to see what now?
I don't know who they are personally. They just asked why people in far north or south latitudes can't see each other.
This has nothing to do with you because you're just reading a thing. But I honestly think for both sides, we should really start moving past some of the easy stuff.
Well, that's not easy stuff because it actually debunks flat Earth. I mean, if you're in look at if you're in South if you're in South America, if you're right, let's say you're in Brazil and you want to look at somebody standing in the North Pole, you can have the most powerful telescope in the world. It can never happen.
Okay, so here's the thing is, guys, I want to interrupt real quick. When you look down a hallway, like say in a hotel,
Jesus Christ.
Converges. The way the human eye works.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I read that wrong. I'm sorry. I read that wrong. That was my fault. I was trying to write it down as it was going by. It's why can't they see Polaris?
Yeah.
Same principle.
That was my bad.
Same principle.
Okay, hang on. After RussianVids answers that question, I'm going to debunk him afterwards. So go ahead, RussianVids.
Yeah, it's very simple. They propose this whole area of where you can no longer see Polaris based on the flat Earth and the distance of perspective. That's what it comes down to. Everything is the sun, the moon, and the stars are much closer. Forget planets. They're just wandering stars.
So fuck direct measurements of distance?
No, what I'm saying is
you're saying you're ignoring facts. That's what you're saying.
You're working on the equations you're working on are bogus, made up. The sun, the moon, the stars are much closer. So it's like the.
Okay. Hang on. Wait for him to be done, and then I will debunk him afterwards because this is actually really easy.
Then we're gonna have to
debunked this shit back in 2015.
You enjoy a good debunking.
We're gonna have to wrap it up after that. So
yeah, I think it's.
Let me explain.
Yeah.
Let me explain. It's like this. This is the analogy I'm going to use when it comes to the sun. When it supposedly sets, it never sets. Telephone poles. You have a row of telephone poles going down a block. The one, of course, closest to you looks the tallest. The one the furthest looks shorter. It's because of perspective. That's simple. They're all the same height. So when you think you see the sun going down, it's not literally going down. It's just going down. Your eyes see that's going down due to perspective.
Thing.
Okay. All right. So here's a very quick debunk of that. This is very easy. And like I said, I debunked this back in 2015. So this shows how much RussianVids is on the cutting edge of flat Earth research. The law of perspective means that the available resolution of your eye is insufficient to see that object that's disappearing in the distance. However, we have this thing called zoom. And what do we see with zoom? We see power lines, which we have enough angular size to work with. We should see them in full, given the law of perspective, the actual law of perspective, and we don't. When you look at the sun, it stays the exact same angular size throughout the day, which means that angular size that we have is sufficient to see the sun in full. Yet, even though it stays the same exact angular size, we still see it being cut off at the horizon for no fucking reason whatsoever other than magic, according to the flat earthers. That is not the law of perspective. That is flirspective, which basically means whatever the fuck I want, just because it mingles well with my.
That's funny because it's
delusion.
true. It's funny because it's
true.
true.
Even know the formula for the law of perspective.
RussianVids, what's your response to that?
Yeah, I want to just mention this real quick. One thing that's never mentioned really is whenever we look at buildings and with the supposed curvature of the Earth, we never see buildings tilt away from us to the side. Say, for example,
Let me get that.
Hold on. Well, let me explain first. So, for example,
hang on.
Let's stick with boats, for example. When you look at it, for example, you look towards the horizon, you see a so-called boat going around the so-called ball Earth. But the problem is this: the mass of the boat is still pointing straight up. When you look at boats left to right, say, for example, you're on the beach, you're at the ocean, you see the ocean, you never see that hump. It's called sea level for a reason. It's not called sea
1 degree for every 69 No, Red, I got this one because this is what I was fuck.
No, fuck you. Okay. Okay. All right, RussianVids.
Thank you, Red. I appreciate that.
Red.
Actually, fuck you too, because buildings in order to be leaning away from you would have to go 70 miles per 1 single degree of tilt. Challenge for you, RussianVids. Have 2 identical pencils. Tilt one of them away from you by 1 single degree from across the room and tell me if that is fucking noticeable. How big do you think the Earth is? It must be tiny compared to you. So yes, we would expect the masses and buildings to be basically pointing straight up because we can't discern less than 1 degree of tilt looking edge on, you fucking idiot.
Not idiot, because the bottom line is this.
No, fucking idiot.
Yeah,
No,
RussianVids, definitely idiot. And just so you know, I'm totally going to feature you in one of my episodes of This Flurf is an Idiot.
Okay.
Hey, you're the one wearing glasses,
Super
pal.
chat time.
Yeah, that's because I can't see very well.
Sorry,
How's that
Jared.
make-
So,
We've got to
okay.
wrap. We've got to wrap.
Man, that's why you do this
Sorry,
during the
sorry,
fall.
Jared.
We've got to wrap.
Enough. enough.
Sorry,
Super
Jared.
chat time.
I love you in the most homosexual way, Jared.
All right, we gotta get the super chats out, then we're gonna call
Yes,
it quits. So
okay.
here we go.
All
So
right.
super chats, we're gonna read through them pretty quick. Ready? Because people,
Are you going to do them or are you going to do them?
you want to do them? Yeah.
I don't care. I've already got them up right here.
Yeah,
so
go
that's
ahead.
Fine. The Athens619 says, can't believe that this RussianVids guy's this guy's hero. Idiots do attract. Time says, I have 33 penises. Am I part of the conspiracy?
Yes.
Call me later, Tom.
Don't call me. Call me.
You got 33 hands to stroke them with?
Yeah, Annabelle P says, nothing on her first one. Then a second one. Thank you, Annabelle. Out of the millions of people involved in the Globe conspiracy, why has there never been one whistleblower, not even on their deathbed?
Because they're afraid they're going to go to hell. That's why.
No, there have been.
You know what's funny?
You gotta look
funny?
at
No, there hasn't.
You recently had Buzz Aldrin come out tell
No,
a
he
little
didn't.
girl.
No, he didn't.
No, he
go
didn't.
there.
He just didn't
He held
watch the
his heart.
entire
We
interview.
didn't-
Stop
we
being
didn't
silly.
go
No one's
there.
listening to you.
Yeah.
You're being silly.
Yeah, by the way, you're going to have to mute. We have to get through these. We don't have time for that nonsense. So, shh, quiet time. Go ahead, Kyle.
Okay. Well, this she was wanting an answer. I just saw a second ago in the live chat that she really wants an answer to that. So,
I don't
can
blame
one of
her.
you
I
guys
really
answer?
want
Maybe
an
Mind
answer
of
to that
God?
too.
Who's the guy that on his tombstone put the firmament, Yeshua's God's handiwork? I mean, how is that not a form
Some
of
nutter. Who the fuck I know?
whistleblowing?
Where's his
RV,
math?
you remember that guy's name?
No. That's how important it really was.
No, it's the
That's Werner von Braun. Werner von Braun, the head of NASA from former Nazi, has on his tombstone.
A former Nazi. Okay, there you go.
Yeah, well, hold on. Just let me finish.
No,
this.
I really don't.
The
No, you
firm-
can't finish because we have to wrap this up. Don't you understand?
Okay, go ahead.
So we're trying to get through these. I got to end the stream, and we got to get
A
the super chats out.
former Nazi. Okay.
Yeah, there you go, former Nazi.
NASA head. He became a NASA head.
Yeah, he was a NASA.
Okay. Akatsuki Gang. I hope I didn't butcher your name. If I did, I'm sorry. One question: why would God put all of His plans in a book where the devil can access it? That's a good question.
So God is actually the one who's doing the deception, which is not what mainstream Christianity teaches, but the Bible in many places tells us that God is the one who's doing all this 33 encoding, this 666. He's the architect behind all of this. He is in control of the deceiving and the people who are being deceived.
Sounds
like
like
it's
a dick,
Illuminati
not worth
confirmed.
worship.
Hey, I actually have to head out for a quick moment, but can I say something real quick before I head out?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, perfect. I'm going to screen share something. So I would encourage RussianVids to do his fucking research. Von Braun's tombstone does not say what he says it says. It says Peace Psalms 19:1. And if we go to Peace Psalms 19:1.
Ouch.
Yep. The heavens declare the glory of God, the firmament swelleth his handiwork. Okay, swelleth his handiwork.
Showeth.
Yes.
Show.
So guess what? Guess
Want to
what?
respond to that?
It's a manifestation of his handiwork. It doesn't mean I have a fucking dome here.
No, but the firmament is a reference to Genesis, where it's explicitly stated that the firmament is the thing that is above the sun.
the sky.
The tombstone doesn't say firmament.
It's
That's
the
the point.
sky.
No, the quote.
It's the sky.
What do you mean? Like it's referencing the firmament through the song.
The firmament is the sky.
Yeah, and the sun and the moon are within the firmament, according to the Book of
Well,
Genesis.
No.
Yeah,
Well, we talked about that. It's really not.
they also thought that pestilence were from God and not actual bacteria and viruses and
They may have a point
other
though,
things.
because remember it was revealed when Hillary Clinton couldn't break through the glass ceiling.
Everything that
That was
exists.
the firmament.
Bye, Reds.
That was the firmament.
And I'm heading out, but
you guys.
RussianVids, if you want to hop on my channel so that we can continue this shit show after this show is done,
Yeah, do it on his,
I'll
please.
start it for you.
That way I don't have to listen to it because I don't listen to red stuff.
And by the way, no other flat earthers will be no other globe earthers will be allowed. So RussianVids, if you want to bring your buddy here, Mind of God in, so that you guys can tag team me, that'd be great.
That would be so sexy, but
that would be sexy.
It's been an honor talking to you. Thank you.
I'm going to bed.
All right,
after this.
Sounds good.
All right,
so
continue with the
hangout starting in 15.
We'll be done in 10
minutes
minutes if we get through these super chats.
Okay, I have truth. All hail the Illuminati. Amen. Brian Stevens, I Googled it, and there's a site for it. Not sure what it is, but okay. Time, www.istheearthflat.com. Spoiler, no. 0132132. Red is the best damn plumber we have. Jake 3D, you can use vector field to describe gravity accurately on an oblate spheroid, and it isn't alive or changing in any way. Can I get into to explain? Sorry, Jake. We got that a little late. But Hannibal says, get shushed. #wrecked. Michael Henderson, you are incapable of visualizing 3D space. Orlor, it's sad that you have to explain the moon phases to grown-ups. Justin James, the moon self-illuminates. What's a lunar eclipse?
Can we talk about this just for a second? I love that. That's my favorite super chat all night, that you have to explain moon phases to adults. That's it. That's what else needs to be said.
There's a good question that follows up that from Justin James Human. The moon self-illuminates. What's a lunar eclipse then?
I can answer that. Bulb's breaking.
The bulb burnt out.
Yeah.
I can answer that, guys, if I can.
Go ahead.
No, you can. I'm just going to guess.
I have several videos. Hold on, man. Glasses, man. Just hold on, please. I have several videos where you see the sun and again the moon above the horizon, where these science geeks are all excited about it. And this one guy, he's in St. Louis, Missouri. He's like, I don't understand this. Why do we see the lunar eclipse and we see the top part of the moon? It's darkened. He goes, it's an optical illusion. The sun rays are coming from underneath the Earth and causing this lunar eclipse. I can't explain it. It's very unusual. He couldn't explain it because he's given false information. There's many recorded history where again the sun and the moon above the horizon where you get lunar eclipses. So this is unexplained. There's a lot of phenomena happening that cannot be explained. That's the problem.
Yes, they can. They can all be explained. Every single one of them by our model.
Stop being stupid. Explain that. Explain that then. Explain that. Why are you getting the top portion of the moon? It's being eclipsed at the top, not towards the bottom, and the sun's above the horizon.
Because of geometry, you retard.
Explain in detail.
Geometry. Go and learn math.
Geometry. You're gonna explain.
RussianVids, ask Reds because we gotta.
All right, we got.
Ask Reds when you go over there because we gotta.
Oh my God!
We gotta
I'm
wrap
so
up.
glad that I ran into you. You're gonna make a great video of stupid. Thank you.
I'm glad we could introduce you two guys.
Yeah, this is great.
Cajun Crustacean says, get the crayons while explaining stuff to fluffers. Dan Palladino, is there any pro flat Earth evidence? All we hear is globe denying, geocentric nonsense. By the way, every religious person I know supports the accepted model. So that's a good question.
I mean, subscribe to the flat Earth channels. But by the way, I had a question. What does POE mean when you guys say someone's a PO? What is that?
Like you're thinking,
it means you are intellectually dishonest.
It means more trolling. It means more that. What a PO is somebody generally who's acting like if they're something they're not. Like if I went into a flat earther thing and I pretend to be a flat earther, I would be a PO. It's somebody who's putting forth things they don't believe. That's
just wondering. But what was the question? Like flat Earth evidence? I mean, is that person unaware of the various, people who are putting a lot of effort in that?
There is no effort in flat Earth.
So,
apparently they don't have to agree with it, but they
apparently there are people in the live chat that feel that I sound like Nathan Oakley.
I mean,
Nathan Oakley? You're not hitting a kid.
I'm not affiliated with them, but I enjoy and
go ahead,
Anthony.
From them. Go ahead, Anthony. Go ahead, Anthony.
That was a burn on Nathan.
Which one?
Go ahead, Anthony.
The one that he's not smacking his kid.
Yeah, sorry.
Those guys are definitely smart guys. You can't.
Oh God,
Nathan Oakley's smart. Oh my God, that is the stupidest thing I've heard all night.
Yeah. You hang on. You smack a child on air, and then your refutation to it is, "Oh, thanks for the advert."
By the way, anything related to that, I hope that enthusiasm is directed towards people everywhere around the world. Injustices.
You really think
you're consistent?
You really think Nathan Oakley?
Unlike you, usually with beating kids.
No, I got to get this. You really think Nathan Oakley's a smart dude?
I like their perspective because they're doing everything from first principles.
You mean perspective? I'd like you to say the right words. Perspective.
Wow. Okay.
You can let me finish my point.
Well, yeah, he can have an opinion.
Yeah, no, it's fine.
But he can't have his own facts. He
Right.
can have an opinion he wants, but he can't have his own facts.
But we're talking about.
Here's what you guys. Here's my final point.
Nathan Oakley doesn't understand first principles. He mimics and parrots Quantum Eraser, who also has no concept of first principles.
Thank
you. But he makes a super flat earth villain. I will say that. He makes a super flat earth villain.
I'll let you guys.
Are we going to get Quantum Eraser on? I think that somebody wanted to do a discussion with him, and I said, you know what, I don't care. But Quantum Eraser, I think, is one of the dumbest people I've ever had to listen to in my entire God-given life. So if you guys want to wait for a dumpster fire of all dumpster fires, and you don't know who Quantum Eraser is, he is the quintessential fucking idiot of flat.
You can't beat Jason King. He wins the title for the dumpster fire.
I'm just think Quantum Eraser can give him a run.
Jason King even said as he was leaving, "I can't believe you're kicking me out, man. You give flat earthers more time than you gave me, and actually have a decent argument." It's
he's not. Jason King's not a flat earther though.
I don't. The flat earthers they actually come with things to talk about. That's the difference. You know, I can stomach that.
And Kyle, to be fair to you guys, man, a lot of these topics, a lot of even religious people don't want to talk about. So that's definitely.
By the way, mind of God, you're not a young Earth creationist, right? Are you?
What?
What's the age of the Earth?
I mean, that's not something that I care about. I mean, I have no. How do you know that?
That's fair.
Because I'm well read. But So wait.
So we're gonna bring you back.
I just wonder if that's not.
You will be coming back.
That's not as part of his shtick.
Hey, my God, just an estimate. Are we talking thousands of years, 10,000s, 100,000s, millions of years, billions of years? How old
I would say here's my answer. You'll get a 50-50 chance of a reply. If you fast and pray and ask our Heavenly Father that question, he may give you the answer. It's like
so will a milk carton though. I can do the same thing with a milk carton.
If he's the one that made it and set it in motion, he's the one that has
a milk carton will give me the same answers though. Yes, no, or maybe.
Yeah.
I mean,
yes, no, or I don't know.
Yeah. Let's see. I have a question real quick. Just do you know of any PhD flat earthers? Just curious, mind of God.
I know one who's in the closet about the moon landing, but he won't come out and say it because he's
not the same thing.
Okay, all right. No PhDs that are out though.
Not that I know of. Not in my circle.
How Sigfrido Sarabia says, how can you see transit of Venus during the day with telescope? Can anyone here start from scratch and find distance to sun without accepting a book?
Yes. Yeah. I have discussed it in a hangout. There's a scientific paper on it that was radar ranged in 1959. I went through the paper in detail in a hangout about 2 weeks ago in one of my hangouts.
George, just so you know, I'm not a licensed engineer. You're aware of that, right?
I don't even think you're an engineer.
No, I wanted to make that clear.
Okay. Not today, Satan. I love your whoever you are. I love your name. Not today, Satan. Red lays down the pipe. Cajun crustacean. Roger. What's our vector, Victor? Okay. Sigfrido Sarabia again. I'm going to go ahead and preemptively say go Rams. A tutor who touched the flute tried to tutor two teachers to toot. She said she.
Here, let me read this one. Can I want to read this one.
Tutor, is it hard to toot?
I want to read this one.
Tutor.
I want to read this one because this is something my dad actually taught me. Growing up. Funny. This reminds me of my father, who's deceased, so I'm gonna call it the dead dad funny. Card. He taught me this years ago, and I never forgot it. The tutor who tutored the flute tried to tutor two tutors to toot. The two tutors said to the tutor, "Is it harder to toot or to tutor two tutors to toot?" There you go.
Sweet. Sigfrido also follows that up with, who put up the camera to film the moon landing if no human Frito, you break up my rhythm of reading with the emojis. I have to stop and try to figure out if they're in place of something or just additions. Who put up the camera to film the moon landing? If no human has been on it before, Go Rams. Are there Sphinx on the moon and Mars and Vector?
Sphinx on the moon would be a good.
There is no Sphinx on the Mars or the moon. There is no structures that were carved by any outside influences.
You haven't seen Sardonia, then, the face on the Mars.
I have seen it. It was a horrible HD picture from back in the 70s. What?
There's no way we went to the moon, man. That's ridiculous.
Oh, God.
Yeah, we did.
Everyone knows we didn't go to the moon. Everyone knows that.
I agree with Kyle.
Everyone knows that. Okay. The Athens says, question for Russian Vids. If he wants to go back, would he keep using bloodletting instead of a shot? I don't know. You know what that means?
He was talking about the regressivism and technology, how we're going back in technology, and equated it to medical technology. If we were to go back to bloodletting instead of modern medical sciences, would you go along with it?
Oh, okay.
I'll answer that. I'll say this real quick. 44 years old, never been in the hospital in my life. Don't drink diet sodas. Don't drink regular sodas. Don't smoke. Never got vaccinated. I don't need that. God gave us everything we need in fruits, vegetables.
Yeah, tell that to
the. You never go near anyone that has polio.
Yeah,
you should be.
I've never been in the hospital 4 eyes. That's what I'm saying.
Russian,
in my life.
Russian,
I've only got 2 eyes, you dumbass.
Russian, tell that to the kids that are born with horrific genital.
Yeah, I'm not one who thinks the Earth's flat.
Yeah, I mean,
I'll tell you right now. No. Dr. Oz,
you tell me nothing because you're a retard.
Russian?
Hold on, let me make this point here.
No, I don't want to hear your point.
Let him fight it. It'll be funny for a few minutes.
I don't want to hear your point because everything you've said is completely and utterly stupid. You're one of the dumbest people I've come across.
Can I make a point, please?
Go ahead. No, because you don't make any points. You just ramble incoherently.
I'm asking nicely.
Sure.
Make a point and then answer my question.
Okay, I want to say this real quick. For example, I demonstrated this before, where you have someone like Dr. Oz who pushes vaccinations to millions upon millions of people, not only in the U.S., but worldwide, on different formats. Mm-hmm. He goes on CNN and asks about his wife. See, this is totally just. Can you please mute him? This is disrespectful.
You know what, Russian, honestly, I'm just dead. I'm tired.
Just
I want to move on. You don't have a point.
Everyone, please. Everyone, calm down. Look, Russian, I'm trying to get to this. Can you get to your point very quickly, please?
Yeah, all I'm going to say is he was asked on a live CNN interview, does your wife and children get vaccinated? He goes, no. When I come home, I'm no longer Dr. Oz.
Well, he's an idiot too.
Yeah, I've never been a fan of Dr. Oz anyways.
Children do not get vaccinated.
Yeah, I think Dr. Oz is
anyone who doesn't get vaccinated is an idiot. Do you know what vaccinations do? They cause adults.
Yeah, get vaccinated. Jason Schneider says gather level is not perpendicular to the surface. It's
shut up, dumbass.
Perpendicular to the center of mass. AC Castillo arguing about a boat on the horizon doesn't work if your only view is from inside your own ass. Okay, I like that. Mark Beiser says calling Russian Vids an idiot is an insult to idiots. Do you want to respond to that, Russian Vids?
It just get an idiotic answer, so there's no point.
I don't think he's.
Bottom line is this, Kyle, is everything we're told is the opposite to keep people away from the truth. This is Freemason duality.
Okay.
Yes,
Okay. Here's my final thought.
You get a final thought, then I get my final thought, then we have to end
I've been quiet for tonight. So before we close out, thank you first of all to everybody who came in here. This was certainly as exhilarating as I thought it would be. But and remember, Reds is going to have Russian Vids on his channel and Mind of God if you guys want to go check that out. But you out there, for the most part, no one's trying to keep the truth from you. There are things that obviously the governments lie about. Sure, they lie about it, and whether they have a good reason for that or not, I don't know because I don't have all the facts on that. But going through life with a distrust for everything and everyone is no way. You fall down a rabbit hole. And Russian Vids, I think you're entertaining as hell, and I don't have any ill will towards you, but there's not many conspiracies that you don't subscribe to, correct?
Well, yeah, I want to respond to that real quick. And the reason for this massive deception is it's about control. How the few control the many.
Yeah, we get that. Yes, of course.
Yeah,
Totally.
I understand.
There's no ego here when it comes to people that don't want to hear what I have to say.
Look,
I think Kelsey cut off.
Nobody's cussing you out, RussianVids. I just have to close out the show. Nobody's cussing you out.
No problem, Kyle. I appreciate you, Kyle. Thank you.
And we'll have you back on. I promise. It's not. This is what happens when you get 8 people who have like very very passionate opinions in a room. Nobody can get a word in edgewise. But my whole point is to just find the answers on your own. If you don't trust what people tell you, great, but actively do something to go out and find the answers. It does nothing to stay back and just comment all the time on the things that you think you're being lied to about. There are things you can do if you question the Earth being a globe. You can go out there and you can find the answers to this. There are experiments that you can do in your own area by yourself to find these things out. Go do them. If you ask these questions to people who are proponents of the flat Earth, have they done these experiments? 9 times out of 10, you're going to get that they haven't. Why is that? Because it's easier to sit and complain about everybody being lied to instead of finding the truth for yourself. And with that, we are extinguishing this dumpster fire, and we will be back tomorrow with Danny Glass, the big YouTuber who is telling his people that follow him to drink turpentine. And we will have Dr. Peachy Keen, the immunologist, on here to speak with him about that. And we'll see what he has to say about drinking turpentine. So the fun never ends. Join us tomorrow at 8 o'clock.
And read my blog. I put the video link or the link into the video description. Go check it out, guys. It's getting some traction from like my other arguments. Tell me what you think of it and leave that in the video description as well. So this is kind of an off the wall hangout. So if you want to go read my blog, I did a blog on can you believe or not believe at the same time. Let me know what you think. Good night.